free to ask them in the chat. We'll answer them as we go if we can. And if not, that's okay too. We'll get to them later. That's pretty much it. Let's just get right to Zoe. Let me switch here, and I have to do it manually because none of my stuff is good enough. Okay, I think I have you now. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, all right. Hi,
I'm
Pikachu.
Pikachu.
Yay! Let me make sure that. Okay, cool. So, it's Zoe, right?
It is, yeah.
Okay, I started like questioning myself today, thinking, is it Zoe or Zoe?
No, everyone always gets that wrong.
Because it's usually with a Y, right, or something like that.
Well, I guess like English spelling, you would spell it with a Y.
Okay.
And other ways to spell Zoe, sometimes you have like an umlaut over the E. But we didn't do any of that. So
And
a lot of people sometimes think my name is Zoe. But no, he got it right. So
because
yay.
you have like a friend that you tweet at a lot, and I think her name is kind of the same, right? Isn't it like Ro or something like that, or like with R's? I forget who.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's her name's Rowan.
Okay, gotcha.
But I call her Ro.
So that makes sense, except that
So it makes
it's
sense,
Zoe
yeah.
instead of Zoe. And then,
Yeah. Neither Zoe or Ro are our correct names.
got
So.
yeah, obviously. That's awesome. First of all, thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for
having me.
loaning me my new background image. I love it.
Oh yeah.
It's so damn cute. And actually, the funniest part about that was when you made the tweet making it. That was the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Yes, my last minute Photoshop.
I love it.
Scramble.
It's actually a pretty good angle too. Like that's really well done. I could never have done that. Like I would put a hat on it and it would just be like straight and look ridiculous.
Yeah, I tried to like make it look like he was actually wearing it.
Yeah.
Even though there's like no shading, there's no highlight. It doesn't look anything like the image that it's in, but you know, at least it has the angle right. That's
Yeah.
what matters.
It's kind of like drooping with gravity. It could be real. It could be real.
If you squint.
You know, what's funny is so before we started the show, we were talking a little bit about The Last of Us because
Yes.
Luxie's playing it today. And it's funny that it seems like there's so many people who are just playing it for the first time recently. I know that Jamie Jambo just played it like a couple weeks ago for the first time or something like that. Now Luxie's playing it. I think I just saw maybe Ashley is playing it for the first time. Someone else is. But it's weird that it's come back up. But I guess it's good timing because the second one comes out next year, I think.
Yeah, well, I think all the hype for the second one is the reason why a lot of people who are like, you know what, I never played the first one, are now trying to like pick it up.
Right.
But it is interesting because it is like a relatively older game.
Right.
I mean, it's not like old, but it's like PS3, like it's older. You know?
I think it was a PS3 game. I have a friend that used to work at Naughty Dog on level design. And she did some of the levels for that game, I guess. And for years, because we went to school together. I went to Full Sail, this like video game school in Orlando. And she went with me. And so she got a job in the industry. And she had been messaging me for years, like, I just completed this game. It's going to be so great. I'm like, oh, it sounds awesome. I'll play it as soon as it comes out. But I didn't have a console for like many years. So every time she would send me, and this is back when I was actually on Facebook, she'd send me Facebook messages like, please tell me you have a PlayStation 3. You have to play this game. I will send it to you.
Oh my God.
But I didn't play it until I got a PlayStation 4. And it's actually like a really meaningful game to me. Like I've talked about this before on the show, but the first time I played it, my son had just been born. So and like in this office of mine, it used to be set up different, but there was a TV sort of behind me in a big chair, and he was in the room with me all the time because I work from home, so I sort of took care of him for the first like 6 months or so, and we would just be in this room all day long, and at nighttime I'm sitting there with him in like this boba sack that you put babies in and they fall asleep, and just walking back and forth playing this game. So it not only is the game like really great and pretty emotional at different parts, but I also have this like new baby, so it was like a really like emotional. Yeah, I'm just like crying myself to sleep at night. So So yeah, the next one I'm super excited about. Like I can't wait.
I'm so pumped for the next one.
You know what's funny is I sent um, Naughty Dog an email about their extended edition. I tweeted you a while ago. You had said something like, "I got to get this edition, but it's sold out," or something like that. And
Yes.
I was like, "I'm on a mission now. I'm going to get one for us." And so I emailed them and explained this in detail, this story about how they should get you one of the deluxe ones. And then at the end, I'm like, "You could also give me one, but definitely give her one."
That's so nice.
Yeah. So if it
Yeah, no, I
happens,
if it happens, I owe you a lot. I like wanted so like I wanted the Ellie edition.
yeah, the super one or
Um,
whatever.
yeah, the super duper one. And then I did actually pre-order the collector's edition,
Is that the one with like the
which
book or something that comes with it?
yeah, so like basically the difference between the collector's edition and the Ellie edition is literally three items. Sorry, it's a difference of three items. In the Ellie edition, you get everything in the collector's edition plus a patch, like a Last of Us 2 patch, a backpack, which looks like Ellie's backpack
That's awesome.
from the second game,
Yeah.
and then a vinyl like record of the game's soundtrack.
Oh, damn.
Now,
Nice.
granted, I really wanted the patch because I think the patch looks so cool. Um, and I kind of wanted the backpack, but then when I was like looking at everything being sold out, I was like trying to like rationalize it to myself so that I wouldn't be upset. And so I was like, you know what? You have so many backpacks. You don't need another backpack. You can just get the collector's edition and get the statue and get the stickers and the pins,
Yeah.
and you can be happy with that. And you don't even have a record player. So why would you get a vinyl record of the soundtrack of the game? You can't play it. Like, you don't need that. Like, so
Right.
I kind of rationalized it. So like the only thing that I really want is the patch still. That's the only thing that's like not in my collector's edition that I would want.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping I have a friend who is a contract worker for Naughty Dog, and
Nice.
I'm hoping that he can snag me like a patch. Like I
That'd be
just want the
sweet.
patch. I mean, the backpack looks great, but I have a Last of Us backpack.
It's good.
It's like a gray brown backpack that says The Last of Us on it, and it's supposed to be a little bit reminiscent of the backpack that she has in the first game.
Yeah.
So I don't need a backpack. I'm just gonna keep telling myself that until February.
You know what's gonna happen is next year, like TwitchCon, or I'm not sure when the game comes out, but I think it's probably next spring or summer, something like that. Next year at TwitchCon, you're gonna like be walking around having a great time, and someone's gonna walk by you with that backpack on. You're just gonna look at it like, God damn it, what did
Yeah,
I
I
missed
should.
out on
I'm gonna be like, I should have
I
done
could have
it.
had it. Walk up to him like, I'll give you $100 for that backpack right now. Yeah, no, that edition looked like pretty sweet. And actually, I just saw that Doom Eternal released their like collector's pack today too.
Yeah, except they like pushed the game. So
Yeah, which sucks. But at the same time, you know, I have a lot of friends that are in the game industry as well, so I'm like, I get it. Like, I'd rather have a a finished game with that wasn't all
yeah,
buggy and stuff.
yeah, I think
Um,
that's fair.
but also, I'm looking at the collector's edition, like, oh man, that looks sweet. I would wear that helmet once. I don't know.
It's worth it.
Yeah, I don't know what I'd
Yeah.
do with it after I wore it once. Like, just stick it behind me. I don't even know.
Yeah,
Um,
growing up, I never understood why my brother got collector's editions. I always thought it was a waste of money. Because I was like, you just want the game. Like, who cares about all the other stuff?
right.
And then watching him get collector's edition after collector's edition, and then realizing that he had all this cool stuff, I was like, oh, now I get it. Also, I want one. Like, how do I get collector's items? So
You could trade it for other collector's items. It's perfect.
yeah, so exactly. So now if there's a collector, like now I just do it. I don't do it for every game, obviously,
Yeah.
but if there's a game that like means a whole lot to me, I will do it. So for Halo 5, I mean, granted Halo 5 was not the best, but for Halo 5 I was very excited for it to come out, and so I went in and I got the collector's edition, and now I love it. Like, even though the game, is like
Not the
the
best. Yeah.
statue is amazing. The statue is my favorite thing.
Oh, I think I
And
remember seeing that.
yeah,
I
because
think I
it's
remember
both
the
Master
statue.
Chief
Yeah.
and Locke, and they kind of look like bookends,
Nice.
and
Do
it's
you use
like
it as
it's
bookends or
beautiful.
just as a ornament in your room?
No, I just use that as ornament. They
Okay.
like have magnets so that they can like stick together if you want them to stick together.
Oh, okay.
So I
After
just have
that,
it.
um, I don't suppose you bought the Fallout 76 collector's edition, did you?
I did not.
That one got a lot of hate on it. I remember that.
I didn't really care about Fallout
Yeah, neither did I.
76, so
I mean, Bethesda in general has a lot of like super. I don't mean to say rabid in like a bad connotation, but like really excited fans for anything Bethesda. Um,
yeah.
so I know that I was a jacket or something that turned out to or a bag. I don't really remember.
I know that their alcohol that they sold turned out to be like garbage. Which like I mean, again, like you're charging people like an exuberant amount of money for this collector's item and then they get it and it's literally a glass bottle super or not even super glued. It was like hot glued to a plastic looks like it's from like the cheapo Halloween section of Michael's like plastic
That's absolutely where they got it
Nuka-Cola
from.
bottle on top of it.
Yeah.
I mean, like I would have been pissed too. Like I would have been mad too because like I don't even care that much about the game, but like I would have been real upset if I spent a ton of money to get like a plastic bottle that probably costs $3. Like
Yeah, and
you
it's
can
just
make
like rubbing alcohol in it or something.
yeah, and it's not even like good.
Right.
like
You're like, oh,
I'd be
great. I could have spent that money on like 6 bottles of actual good alcohol.
mad, right? I could have just drank my sorrow.
um, okay, you uh, explain your sort of connection to the game industry. I guess. What is your
What's my connection?
like? You work in the game industry in some way or something like that?
Yeah, I work for an indie studio. I'm a social media manager
Oh, sweet.
at a game studio. I'm really using my degree, you guys.
Hey,
No,
I have a degree literally in video game design, and I don't
I
use it.
mean same. I mean same. So
Yeah.
like I have a bachelor of fine arts in animation
Oh,
and
sweet.
I have a master of arts in interactive design and game development. So I went to grad school for game design
Yeah. Where did you
and
go?
SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I went there for both because they gave me money, free money,
Yeah. What
to
the
go
hell?
there for grad school. So I was like, yeah, I'm in. So I got my master's in game design, and then I tried to find a job, and
It's a rough
it's
industry.
yeah, it's a. Can I swear on this?
Absolutely. Please, please do. If no one swears every 5 minutes, someone calls the police.
Okay, I just had to ask because some people, have like rules and stuff. No, it's a bitch of an industry. It
Yeah.
really is. Like, and I did not want to go into QA.
Yeah.
Like, I tried I tried to apply to various internships, various job titles. I refused to go to QA because I didn't want to get stuck there. I've heard horror
Yeah.
stories
Yep.
of people I went to school with that are just stuck in QA and cannot get out of it. And so I tried to avoid that, and I succeeded in avoiding it. Of course, I'm in a different department than I originally thought I'd be in, but it's not bad. Like I really enjoy my job, and I really like it, and I get to be creative, and I'm getting experience.
Yeah.
So once I have that under my belt, I can maybe potentially go elsewhere.
So, I think my camera just died. It's like
Oh
something is
no.
broken. I'm gonna fix it while I'm talking to you. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, actually, when I graduated, I had the same problem. Like, I went to school for a long time. The school I went to is not cheap. Full Sail is kind of notorious for being incredibly expensive, and
Mhm.
I don't know if this is gonna come back on again.
What
uh,
you do?
I need to get a picture of a different picture. Okay, I'll keep playing with it while it's going. But yeah, so when I graduated, it was sort of like, here's all these loans, and I'm like, well, I can't really do that because I mean, my parents didn't pay for any of my college, and it's super expensive. So I was like, well, you can apply to EA, is right in the area. So I went to look at that, and they're like, "Sure, we'll hire you, and it will be, um, $9 an hour or something like that." Uh, so it was super rough, basically. I basically said, "No, I'm gonna go work for the government." So he just sent me a message saying I'm cutting out. Am I cutting out for you guys in the chat? Hopefully not. Let me see if this is still. Let me type to them. No, okay. They say I'm not. Maybe it's a server that we're on here.
Maybe.
Oh, she is, I think, cutting out a little bit. You tell me when you're back. I'll continue to fix this camera. You guys hold tight while we.
Well, so yeah, like
So it's robot Zoe. Hello? Can you hear me now? Like the Verizon commercial? Let's try this one. How about now? Hello? No. Huh. It's assumed a true form. Let me see. Huh. Yeah, it says that I'm coming through on Discord. Okay. Let me try switching to push to talk and see if that fixes it. Or maybe Discord's crapping out. This is super weird. Robotics. It could be Discord. It says that I'm like in a red connection right now. I'm going to hang up on her and then call her back real quick and see if that somehow does something. Thanks for hanging on a minute, guys. Yeah, I tried switching from west east. Hello?
Hello?
Hey, it sounds better now.
It sounds a lot better.
I don't know what the hell happened. I switched to US West and then back to East and then it's working. So I don't have any idea.
I don't know. It's probably because I'm here. I tend to break things just by looking at them.
So anyways, like I was saying, I basically went to school and they were like, "Yo, we'll give you $9 an hour." And I was like, "No." And then or EA told me $9 an hour and I was like, "No, thank you." And then I went to work for the government and now it's better.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse. I actually have some friends that got stuck, like you were saying, into a QA nightmare. So they're just there like forever.
Yeah, I had a friend who was in QA for like 2 years, and he eventually got an internship at another studio, but it was 2 years of like at that studio trying to get into a different department, trying to make connections, network, and like he just couldn't get into a different department, so he went to a different studio, started as an intern. And like it sucks because it was almost as if those 2 years in QA were not experience enough to get him even
count for
an
nothing.
entry level.
Yeah. It's terrible that the industry works like that. And QA people are notorious for being basically worked to death. I mean, not literally, but it's like
no, but it's pretty bad. Like it's not great.
You get paid very little to work 80 hours a week, and then of course they're like, "Hey, you could take like 2 weeks off after the game launches," which is maybe in like 2 years. So like, great, thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
So I was invited to sit on the program advisory committee at Full Sail. So I helped their game design program, sort of like, I don't know what you call it, sort of review like the syllabus of the coursework and everything, and make sure that they're on trend with great. And the other people that sit on the board are very interesting. There's a guy, and I have all their contact information. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but there's some guy that like created the idea for Fortnite, sits on there. He's from Epic. There's a guy that two guys that were working on Doom Eternal the last time I spoke to them, so they're probably like crazy, nowadays. But like all these guys that launch these mega games, I'm like, wow, I work for NASA. I'm in a room full of these guys who've created the coolest games ever. So weird. Oh, Guitar Hero was another one. Like one of the guys had created the idea for Guitar Heroes there. I'm like, okay.
Oh my God. I mean, NASA's pretty cool though. Don't sell yourself short.
Yeah, it's all right. We need to get back to the moon. Space Force.
It's just space. It's just space.
No, it's very cool, and it's been pretty rewarding. We got to launch my first satellite last October, so that's exciting.
Oh, that's awesome.
But so there's a lot of like, there's a huge amount of turnover in the game industry. Like every other company just passes people around, which is kind of crazy. A lot of my friends have shifted studios like 5 times, moving from game to game, basically. My friend that worked on at Naughty Dog moved to, I I think she's at either Bethesda or 2K now, and I can't remember where because I think 2K is on the East Coast, right? They're in Boston or something like that, and Bethesda's in Maryland, I think.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
she's
that
somewhere
sounds
over there.
accurate.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know that it's a crazy world that the gaming industry and um so one of the things that I wanted to mention was sort of like you are the social media manager for the indie studio that you work for. Um,
Yeah.
how many tweets and DMs do you get per day from streamers looking for free stuff?
Not a lot,
Wow. Okay.
actually. I mean, and also we like the weirdest thing is that like I don't even get DMs or emails for it.
Hmm.
A lot of the times people the requests we do get come through our support channels, which makes like no sense to us.
Like
Because like
customer support? Yeah, that's pretty weird.
yeah, like where you would go to enter a bug for our game.
Huh.
They try and request stuff through there. And then QA has to like come over to us and be like, can you do something about this message?
Right.
Like, that's not a bug in the game. We can't do anything about that.
Jeez.
Um so yeah, but I don't we don't get too many. I think just like any other studio, we probably get some people requesting stuff.
Sure.
But we don't get a lot, and the ones we do, they go to the wrong channels because we're willing to work with people, obviously, and
Sure.
like any studio, and but like you got to go through the right channels. You can't just like ask QA to hook you up. Like that's not how that
Yo,
works.
person bug testing, give me a key. Like that's so weird.
Yeah.
Um, is there any have you noticed any like I don't want to say stigma because that's kind of a negative impression, I guess, but like how does the game industry in terms of not I mean, I'm sure you get it from coworkers and stuff and the general feeling towards streamers, you being one as well, but is it sort of like, these are people we need to work side by side with, or is it sort of like, oh God, these streamers are all, you know what I mean? Is it kind of I could see it being tough sometimes.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag, I'll say.
Dude, so I remember I went to this convention called Replay Effects in Pittsburgh like 2 years ago, and they had an
Mhm.
indie sort of setup there where they shown off a bunch of indie games, and there was a publisher there from Erie, Pennsylvania, which is relatively close to where I am, and he was telling me that one of the big problems he has is that if one of the developers comes to him and says, "Yeah, we need some people to market this game. Can you go find some content creators or something, some YouTubers or something?" And he is basically like one of his biggest problems is finding the right people to market the game. Because obviously they could go to like Shroud or something, but maybe that's not Shroud's game or whoever.
Mhm.
And we talked a lot on the show about how like certain people can market certain games. Like I can't market a horror game, you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
you in particular are better at playing horror games than I am. I don't have the same kind of reaction stuff. So like you wouldn't want to market your game with me. You'd want to market it with you. So he was
Yeah.
basically telling me that he would love for like someone in that middle that could say, "Oh, you need your this type of game. You want this type of hour stream. This is the three people you need to talk to." Something like that.
Yeah, I think the only reason like the only way to get that is to have someone who understands Twitch. Like I know that
Yeah.
I like my understanding of Twitch is definitely an asset where I work. When it comes to like looking for people to work with because I know of people. Granted I don't know everyone. That's the other issue about Twitch is that
Yeah.
the platform is so huge that like I only know my friends. And like I don't want to like bring nepotism into it, but I also only
Right.
know my friends.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm obviously going to put them on the list, not because I'm trying to like I mean obviously I'm trying to help my friends out, but like that's not my main goal. My main goal is that like I know they're good content creators and that they do like great stuff. Um but I don't know a whole lot of other people either. Like but it also allows me to meet other people because you never know who's going to play your game and you can go into your game directory and find new people that once you watch their stream, you can see whether or not they're marketing it well and then maybe you want to work with them in the future. Um so there's also that.
Yeah.
It's definitely like it's definitely difficult to find the right people who have the right audience that are like accepting of your game and also willing to purchase your game and not just watch it. Um,
Right. Yeah, that's another good point. Like you'd want to find the right person that can, and it's there's so many like interesting topics sort of off of what you just said, but it's like it can't just be someone who is good at playing the game, but you need someone that's good at explaining it, right? And then
Right.
explaining it in a way that's enticing to their audience.
Right.
And at the same time, they'd have to have some sort of like control is a bad word, right? But like influence, like a high level of influence with the people that watch them.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, and like I used to when I was working for Player One Esports, I made a show for them called where I would take obscure or newly released games
mhm,
and I would play them on stream and I would do all of the research behind it, like the developers, how long it took to make, what the mechanics were, any interesting facts about it, if they were up for any awards, if they had won any awards. And I would kind of like do like almost like a review show and kind of give like my honest opinion of like what I thought of the game, if people should buy it, where they can buy it.
mhm,
And it was kind of like a way to like lift up games that maybe people weren't very aware of that I really loved.
right. How was that
Um,
received?
I think it was received well. I don't know. I don't know if I actually helped any of those games get like sold, like sell more copies, but like it's definitely a fun way to look at gaming and kind of come at it from like both like a gamer player perspective as well as like a dev perspective because I would like try to break down like the design behind the game as well.
Oh, okay.
And so it was just like a fun way to like talk about video games in like a more like broken down capacity of like really like I don't know, reviewing the game and almost as if, you know, like we're IGN or something. Like
Right.
I'm not writing an article, but I'm like playing it on stream and kind of doing a review and trying to get people to like look into the game if they really like it. Because that's kind of like what I do on my own channel when I play games. Like if I
Mhm.
really like a game, I'm gonna try and upsell the crap out of that.
Yeah.
Not because they're paying me to, but because I think they deserve more people to buy the game.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean, coming from that world, even more how important that is. But like,
Yeah.
especially if you like the studio, like if you get more people to buy it, right? There's a higher percentage chance they're going to make like DLC or come out with a second one, or any kind of stuff like that can influence it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is that like even if you watch half of it and or you watch the whole thing, like if you really like it you should still buy it. Like I mean,
Right.
I know that sounds crazy because it's like why would you buy something that you already watched a full playthrough of, but like support the devs for it.
Right.
Like even if you buy on sale you're still getting it, like some of that money still goes to the devs. So it's just about like finding ways to support devs as well as support the streamer,
Hmm.
because they're working together, they're working hand in hand, and games are expensive. Like
Yeah.
they cost a lot of money to make, and like if you want to see more games like that being made, the only like tangible like support that they have to make more of those games is through monetary analytics. Like they're not going to make a sequel to that game unless it's sold out, like so you kind of have to look at it that way. If you really enjoy that game and you want them to make more games like that, you need to purchase those games.
Sure. So, sort of on that same a little bit of note about selling games and getting the devs more money, do you in the last year there's been that big uproar about EGS and all that shit about how the new store they're having exclusives and all this stuff. Like, is it should I assume that you're sort of like you're kind of in the camp where it's like, yeah, I mean it's good for the devs to make more money, so EGS is not like this nightmare creature in the in the closet stealing all your games.
Yeah, I don't everyone has exclusivity.
Yeah.
Like I never understood like the hatred for it. When I talk to people who don't like EGS, they say that they don't like the layout or they don't like how it functions.
Hmm.
And that's
Okay.
fine. That's a valid reason. Like, you might not like there's websites that I don't like their layout. Like I think their UI is terrible. Like, like there you can have those opinions, but to say that like you just hate it for its exclusivity is like a little over dramatic to me
Yeah.
because everyone has exclusivity. I mean, we have exclusivity on consoles.
Yeah.
So many games that are supported by Sony are only on PS4. You
The
can't get
Last of
those
Us.
games. The Last of Us. You
Right.
can't get those games on any other console. Um or any other platform sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they're Nintendo games you can only get on Nintendo products most of the time. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like exclusivity exists in the game industry. It has always existed in the game industry because competition and funding. Games that sign up with Epic are funded by Epic. They get money for their development. Development costs a lot of money. So also getting that money for exclusivity could also bring prices down on how much the game is going to cost people. I
True.
mean, you never know what that money goes towards. It could go towards a variety of things that could benefit everyone in the long run.
Yeah.
They could make a better game. They could make DLC because they have more funding. Like funding is what drives those games to being made. So exclusivity exists to help that happen.
Sure.
And I also see it like you don't have to pay for it. So like my whole thing is like I never understand why people complain so much about EGS cuz like you don't have to pay for it. It's free. It's a free launcher. So like if you had to
Right.
pay like $5 every month to use that storefront, then yeah, I would be a little upset if I had
Right.
to pay a subscription to use a storefront to then buy games.
Right.
That's ridiculous. But like if you're, you know, I have games on Steam and then I have other games on Battle.net and then I have other games on Origin. Like we already are functioning in the system. The only thing that is different is that Epic's storefront has games that they don't produce. And that's the only thing that I've noticed
Mm.
is a difference. A lot of times when you point out, well, Origin's a launcher or Battle.net's a launcher,
They make all those games. Yeah.
people will say, yeah, but the games on their launchers are their games. But I mean, I still don't really see a huge difference if, as long as Epic's funding those projects, like, why not have them be exclusive? And it's
Yeah.
also only exclusive for like a certain amount of time. Like, it will eventually come out on other places. It's just they get the first dibs because they
Yeah.
paid for it.
Yeah. Like Borderlands is coming out, next March or something, right? Or early next year on Steam. I think they have a date set for that.
Yeah, well, didn't I mean like Borderlands also came out on console,
Right. Yep.
so it's not like it was just PC exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
So if you really didn't want to get it, you could probably just get it on console. And actually, I heard it's better on console. So like I heard their PC port is not doing very well. So
Yeah, there's a lot of hate about it to begin with. I think there's some FPS issues or something. I never
yeah.
really noticed. I played it. I had fun. I mean, that's all I care about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I get it, but at the same time, it's like if you want games to be made, they need to be funded somehow. So,
sure. Yeah, and like you were saying, doesn't EGS, like when they get the exclusivity, they pay upfront money, right? Like they
yes.
give them some cut like immediately. It's not some cut of the sales.
Right. You get a cut of the sales, but they typically give a lot of money up front as well.
Right. So that
I
helps with
mean,
the
they got all that
development and all
Fortnite
that kind of
money.
stuff. Yeah.
They
Yeah,
got all that
exactly.
Fortnite money.
For now, we'll see. That game's tanking after the last stats I saw. We'll see.
Oh, jeez.
The Streamlabs or whatever released their stats. We looked at them yesterday on the show, but Fortnite's been consistently decreasing quite a bit. So we'll see.
Well,
But I mean, it's consistently decreasing into like the 300 millions of viewers. So it's like,
oh
I
yeah,
mean,
it's so deep. It's such a decrease.
right? Yeah, it's a decrease for them. Every other game except for maybe League of Legends is like, oh man, we wish we had that.
Yeah, right.
Sort of a little bit back where you were saying on when you were talking about reviewing a little bit and walking through some of those games that you had. There was I don't know if it was an uproar, but there was kind of a scandal a little bit a few years ago. And this is what triggered a lot of video game review outlets to basically have to mark their reviews as being sponsored reviews, and how
Mhm.
these developers, it might have been publishers. I sometimes confuse the two. Would pay streamers and reviewers and things to fly out, stay at a fancy hotel, check out the game, fly back with the game, give it a review, and it wasn't sort of like you know you don't have to give us a positive review, but if you do, we'd love to have you back out. Something like that. Which is a little bit shady, a little bit, but I think it caused a lot of the review scene to like change, where they have to mark that stuff now.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think they moved a little bit more. Like some of the most popular reviews, like Donkey's reviews are super popular, but his are more like humorous. But I know that they rely pretty heavily on streamers now to do a lot of that stuff, and um, it's there's been a lot of streamers that have posted saying things like, yeah, there's a in the contract, it basically says you don't have to say things that are nice all the time. You just can't say things that are bad if you want to get paid. Which is,
Yeah.
I get it, because they're spending money to get you to review it, so I get it. But at the same time, it's like, do you got a kind of a little grain of salt when you watch some of this stuff?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, like if it's a sponsored stream, I, I'll take it. I'll take it with a grain of salt. I won't, entirely believe everything that they're saying about it. But also, I mean, you can also tell if someone's not having fun while
Yeah,
playing a game. Like
yeah.
it's really hard to play a game and be like, oh my god, this is so much fun. Like I'm having a blast,
You're just
and
like
you
on
like
your phone the whole time.
yeah, and you like hate it. Like you can tell. So
Yeah,
it's like um but I think it, creates a little transparency in terms of like uh why you're being so positive about something.
yeah,
Um but that's also what I like about doing like reviews of games that I'm not being paid to play. Because I can be honest and I can be
yes.
like, listen, I respect everything that went into this and I know the process of what went into this and I respect the hard work, but this game is garbage. Like, and I feel bad saying that, but at the same time, I'm like, please do better."
Right.
Like,
That happened to me a little bit with this game called Dead Cells that I really really loved, and I met the guys at TwitchCon last the year before this year, um, and they were great guys, and I really loved them. I had played the game like 200 hours or something. As soon as I get back from TwitchCon, they had released an update to the game, and it like completely ruined it. I did not want to play anymore. I felt so bad.
oh no.
But I mean, I guess that stuff happens all the time. Since then, I think they fixed it, and they're really great people. But man, that was pretty disheartening.
Yeah.
Um, so today there
Today.
was Blizzard announced that they were holding back some money from a guy playing Hearthstone. Uh,
Oh.
we got to talk about
Oh,
it.
it's so bad. It's so bad.
So basically, they ripped money back from this guy. And just to give you, if no one knows, there was a guy that was competing in a Hearthstone tournament. He won when he came, and I believe it was in, I forget where it was. The show was being hosted, but anyways, he wins, and he comes on the show to talk to the. I don't know if they call them shoutcasters or the hosts or whoever it is, but
Yeah.
it comes on the show to sort of give his give me all your strategies and what you used to win and play your cards or whatever. And he basically came out in a mask, and I'm not a translator, so I don't know exactly what he said, but it was basically in promotion, or maybe not promotion, demonizing the Chinese government.
It was like protest because there's a
Yeah.
lot of protests going on in China right now.
And unfortunately, when he said that, I think that the hosts probably reacted poorly. I think that in a professional manner, they probably would just cut that guy and ended the feed. But they might not have had control of that. I think the video that I saw looked like the hosts kind of like ducked down and were laughing a little bit, which probably didn't help their case. Uh,
Oh no.
so Blizzard anyways went out and they basically told that guy, you're not getting money for this event. You're not declared the winner. I think they took that back or whatever that means, and they fired the two hosts because they were.
I didn't know they fired the host. I
Yeah.
what I saw was that they banned the player
Mm-hmm.
from being able to compete for like a year.
Yeah, he's banned. They took his money for winning. They're not going to pay him out, and they fired
Right.
both the hosts. And at first, I was like, "Wow, why would you fire the hosts?" And I sort of started to realize that that same language, because I was reading some of his contract as a competitive player, it says like in the contract you can't do anything that would hurt the image of Blizzard. So that's in his contract. So they took the money, but it was probably in the host money as well. And when they start laughing at it, that's probably not great. Like there probably could have been a better reaction to that. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so both those people were fired as well.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah, so that's happening, and there was kind of an uproar on Twitter about it, and I get it. I get it. Like, it's human injustice, and there's a humanitarian problem. And I completely understand that, and it has a lot of political stuff happens that maybe a lot of people aren't super up to date on or whatever. But I don't know, man. Like, you signed a contract. You can't really say like, oh no, I deserve my money if you violate the contract. Is how I see it.
Yeah, there's there's legal stuff involved, but at the same time, it's one of those like human, like, do we choose to be human right now, or do we choose to be a business and follow suit with what's in our contract?
Right.
So
The,
it's like I think a lot of people want like a more human reaction from Blizzard, which would be to comprehend what's going on in China, understand that maybe this was a person who wanted to use their platform and their 15 seconds of fame
yeah.
to try and do some right, or at least try and voice what they think is, what they believe to be is right.
Mm-hmm.
And because I don't fully know like all the details, so I'm not going to say what's right or wrong. I'm just going to say that like if you had one shot to like say how you feel and potentially make a difference, like maybe you thought that was your best time.
Right.
So I think Blizzard's doing the whole like company contract,
Right.
gotta
Yeah.
gotta keep our deals in line, gotta make nice with everyone, gotta keep face, and I think everyone wanted them to be a bit more human in their response. So
Yeah. And I think
it's a
that's
messed up situation.
yeah. I think
It's a
that's
PR
right on.
nightmare, is what it is.
Oh yeah.
That's what it is.
I'm sure the Blizzard people were looking at that like, oh God, there's no way out of this. um, so and honestly, like since they took that guy's money and banned him, I haven't seen anything in the news or online about him complaining about it. This may have been something that he realized was going to happen, and he did it anyways. Like you said, he had his minute to sort of bring light on the injustices and things, which is fine. But he also sacrificed his money, and that could be the case. And
Yeah. Well,
then
what also sucks is that like what sucks more is that like that was his chance to bring light to something like tragic that's
yeah,
happening. And now the only thing people are talking about is boycotting Blizzard.
right,
So it
which
didn't
is
even work, which is terrible.
yeah,
It's just like we're not even talking about the issue that we probably should be talking about. We're too busy talking about how Blizzard
yeah.
did a thing.
Yeah, cancel your WoW sub instead of talking about like a serious humanitarian
Right?
injustice in
Yeah.
Hong Kong.
Like we're not even talking about what that kid wanted us to talk about.
Yeah.
We're literally talking about Blizzard being terrible. Like
So yeah, I got in some discussions on Twitter today. Basically, like, yeah, it's not right that they did not morally correct, I'll say. But if you think about yourself as a business, in Blizzard's case, that was probably the only option you had, since companies don't think in terms of feelings; they think in terms of satisfying their stakeholders, right? They want their
yeah,
stockholders to be happy. Um,
yeah.
but and if you look at the split, like remember the World of Warcraft movie? I hated that movie.
Oh my god, it was so terrible. Thank you.
God, it was so bad. But I went to
So
see it
bad.
opening night because I played World of Warcraft for like 10 years. So I got to go see it. I went to see it. I hated it. That movie made not even $50 million in the United States. In China, it made like 300 million. Like there's a different
Yeah.
level of fandom and support in China than there is here for Blizzard games.
Yeah,
Um,
there is.
so yeah, I'm sure the PR people and like the people that made the decision to fire those guys and react how they did were kind of like, well, we can piss off the people that pay us 1/10 of our revenue, or we could piss off the people that pay us 90% of our revenue. And seeing as how the Chinese government kind of controls their internet, um, it's probably very easy for them to completely ban and erase anything Blizzard from anyone that lives in that country.
Yeah.
Um, but anyways, it was a crazy scenario that happened today that I think there was a little bit of misunderstanding where, like you said, people sort of started shouting about, let's tweet boycott Blizzard instead of talking about the issue. But then at the same time, it's going to turn into nothing. People will forget about it tomorrow. Donald Trump will tweet something stupid tonight and we'll forget about it.
Oh, geez. Don't encourage him.
He watches
Don't
the
give him
show,
more
so
reason. Yeah, he's like watching right now and he's
yeah.
like,
He's got
I'll
Fox
show
News up on
you.
one side.
I'm not going to tweet anything stupid. And
Yeah.
then he tweets something stupid.
I was watching this guy online. He had a Pikachu on his show.
He had a Pikachu on his show. The fuck are these kids doing? Yeah.
They must love Halloween. Okay.
Honestly, but I'm sorry, but the whole internet was a dumpster fire today.
Yeah, it was just, not great.
It was multiple things being talked about that was just a dumpster fire.
Yeah. And I tend to not help those scenarios and like to gaslight everyone instead. That's how I run my Twitter. But yeah, so I made a tweet earlier that was something like, hey, someone needs to go into Asmongold's channel and let him know that we're boycotting Blizzard. Tweet changes to Guild Wars. And that didn't happen today. That was weird.
Oh no.
But yeah, I mean, it's a business decision, and I think we all kind of need to understand that there's a lot worse businesses in the world than what Blizzard did. Like Nestle and a lot of other terrible that like literally bomb villages to expand their business. But anyways, that's political talk. So yeah, that was a lot of fun today, and I put fun in quotation marks. So a little bit back to the game sort of development scene. There's I think it was Red Dead Redemption 2, I think was the most recent issue with crunch time and how people were getting super burnt out and all that stuff. And what's your take on that? Is it a part of the industry and that shit just happens and the developers that are involved know it and they're fine because they work in the industry? Or is it, and at the same time, is it more of like when the public hears about it, it's some big outrage that's not really as big of a deal as it really is? Or do you think it's really a problem?
I think there's various levels of crunch. Like when you hear about studios making people crunch every day, all day, on weekends, all night, every week, like for months on end, that's just a health problem. Like and the fact that people are afraid to be fired or they're threatened to be fired or they're like, also, I mean, like if you're a salary employee, you're not getting like overtime.
Right. Yeah, it's terrible.
Like you're just working.
Yeah.
So like it's like you're working like 100 hours a week for the same amount of pay that you'd be working 40 hours a week. I mean, it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
I think having been involved in game design, I know that sometimes shit hits the fan and you need to scramble and potentially crunch to fix it. So like if you're having like one super late night at work or you have to work one Saturday in the span of like a month, let's say.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the worst thing in the world because I mean it happens. Like it just happens. And that's just when like things go wrong because in production things can go wrong very easily. So if there's some sort of crunch to meet a deadline, it just depends. For me, it depends on what type of crunch it is, and it also depends on like what was behind the crunch. Was it because people really don't know how to time management and they don't know how to plan at all, and now they need to make the people higher up happy, so they're abusing their workers? That's not okay. Like that's not good. But if it's just a wrench, in the plan and something went awry and we just need to fix it and we need to fix it now and people are willing to put the time in to fix it because they care and because they know that this is not how it is all the time, then I don't think it's time to grab pitchforks because Susie worked on a Saturday. Like it's
Right. Yeah.
it's not an issue. I don't think that, because that can happen at any job. It's
Sure.
not just game development.
Yeah, it happens in our job. I mean, the guys that I work with work weekends, work on the airplane on the way back from a business trip or something like that. You just work
Yeah,
when you get
like
to work.
sometimes it happens, but I think the crunch though that is being talked about is problematic for sure.
Yeah.
That's like the crunch where people are like losing their minds and not being healthy and working hundreds of hours, weeks on end. And
Yeah.
that's not okay. And that's poor planning, I feel. That's
Yeah.
poor planning. That's having a scope that's too large for the time that you're giving people. Um, but yeah, if it's like a little like a little baby crunch, I'm not too against it, because I also used to do that in college all the time. It's called an all-nighter. It sucks, but
Everyone does it.
sometimes you
Yeah.
got to do it.
Right. Yeah, and I think you're right on, and that's the same sentiment that the guys at that the program advisory committee of Full Sail were saying. These guys in the industry were basically saying that there's never not crunch. There's always some kind of crunch, and they're basically saying that like they're good at what they do at these different studios because they're able to plan sort of they the time they allot for the game development allots for some crunch time so that
Hmm.
they sort of assume that it's inevitably going to happen, and if it doesn't, which it's never happened according to them, they can use it for extra testing or something like that or quality
Yeah.
assurance. But
Yeah, and I mean, like, Monomi Park came out. They're the people that make Slime Rancher.
mhm.
They made a very public statement about how they've never had crunch
Hmm.
at their studio, and how they were able to make like a best-selling game that everyone enjoys with great content and tons of DLC and all this stuff, and they've never once crunched. And I'm curious about what they categorize crunch as,
Right. Yeah.
because I'm very like I'd be very, very impressed, and I would love to meet like their producer
Yeah. How
to
did you
put
do
that
that?
schedule together,
Yeah.
just to see how they did that.
Yeah.
If they really mean that everyone came in at the time they were supposed to and left at the time they were supposed to and everything got done. Like I would love to see, like, or if they classify crunch as, a more severe crunch, and they're like, we didn't have severe crunch, but like, yeah, maybe, Jeff stayed late on Friday night.
Right.
Like, what do they classify as crunch? Because it's very bold of them, in a good way, but it's very bold of them to say that they had zero crunch, because
Yeah.
I would want to know what they see crunch as. And also I want to see how color coded their schedule is, because that just, I'm so curious.
Right. Yeah, I
I'm
think that a
so
lot of people in
curious.
the game industry would be like, as soon as they heard that, they're like, "Yeah, okay." You know, like, "Sure you didn't." Uh, because yeah, I mean, it's like inescapable. And like when you were saying the poor planning thing, a lot of times there's crunch issues when feature creep comes in where they start throwing shit on at the end, and I guess there's about 10,000 things that can change the course of a game development thing.
Yeah, it's also in like, I feel like in like bigger companies, it's the executives that don't understand game development
Yeah.
on like a critical production level, and they're the ones who are like, yeah, we need like 10 hours of gameplay, and it needs to all be made photorealistic by by the end of 8 months.
Right.
So do it, because that's where the money's at. And that's when you're like, dude, that's not even like
No,
physically
yeah, not
possible.
even
Like
close to possible.
that's not how that works.
Right.
So I think you also have, it's a problem of having like executives who may not understand game development, but are making decisions because it puts money in their pockets, and they
Right.
think that they can just tell the people below to, start making those video games. Like,
I need my money. Yeah, there
it's only a button, right? You just press a button, it does the thing.
yeah, the
It
so,
shouldn't take you very long.
some of the guys on that advisory committee, they're none of them are developer. There was one guy that's a developer, a senior developer that works on whatever the name, what's the engine that's not Unity? It's
Unreal.
yeah, thank you. Unreal. So he works on that. He actually like codes that. But all the other
Yeah.
guys were like higher level producers, and they were basically saying that their whole job is basically we map out a timeline to develop the game, and most of their job that they do is basically being the communication between like the publishing people, the executives that basically are like, where's the game? And then all the developers below them. So they basically act as like a mediator between the two and keep
Hmm.
the development team on schedule, but also sort of, maybe preemptively discuss with the management team, like, hey, this is going to be late. We're going to do this. Here's what we're doing to offset it. So it sounds like that job's super important in the industry as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it definitely helps. I mean, like in indie studios, you don't really need like you still need producers. Oh my god, they're so important.
Yeah.
But you don't really need like a mediator because like in an indie studio, like you typically have executives that thoroughly understand the process
Sure. Yeah.
and are really in on every decision. Um, which is kind of what I love about indie studios because it feels like a lot more personable and a lot more like put together.
Sure.
Whereas like bigger studios, you need those extra people to like be the ones sending all the messages.
Yeah, and sort of on the a little bit back on the topic of crunch time. One of the things that I noticed a lot of studios are doing, and actually the studio Insomniac, they were, I think, a couple years running in like the top 10 companies to work for in the United States for like quality of living, because they
Hmm.
put in this like multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar renovation on their studio, and they brought in this big cafe, and you have dinner there, and they got these sleep pods, and kind of what Google does. Um,
Hmm.
and so I think game studios are sort of starting to catch on to that, and it's sort of a little bit of a kind of a, I don't want to say shady tactic, but it's like, hey, look how convenient it is for you to be here. You can eat here, you
For
can
you to
sleep here,
sleep
just
here.
stay here, you know, and then wake up and go back
Yeah.
to your desk and code.
It literally sounds like the building at my college
Exactly.
that
Um,
everyone just slept at.
uh-huh. So yeah, I think some studios are starting to catch on to, and Insomniac is well known for being like really a great studio to work for. Um,
Yeah.
and
But also, is it really bad though? Because like, I'm sorry, if I could just have a place where I could get food, take a nap, and
yeah,
go to the gym and like work and grab a smoothie. I don't know. I would just never leave. Like it
right.
just sounds great. Like
There's a
I'm so simple. I just need like could I bring my cat?
right.
I could put him on a leash. I could put him on a leash.
So you can do that at Google.
Bring my cat.
One of our clients that we work for is a Google X. It's kind of their experimental wing of Google. It's in Mountain View in Silicon Valley, and
Mhm.
man, their studio is like unreal. It's exactly what like you said. It's like a cafe, but it's more than you just go to like the food court. It's like they got 5-star chefs in there, and they're making all kind of crazy food that you've never even heard of from around the world. They got like cheese carts from around the world that go around the office. It's
Jesus.
it's crazy.
How do
Uh,
I work there? Just kidding.
I don't even know how I work there. uh, but yeah,
We got Cheez-Its at work. I don't know, like just humble brag. Like we got
nice.
Cheez-Its at work.
Nice. But the company that I work for sits in like a satellite office, so we don't have any of that. But
Yeah,
if you go to the
it's
main
crazy.
studio, you get literally anything that you want, because they're just like, yeah, you could literally you could just stay here. You don't need to go anywhere else.
You don't need to go anywhere.
Right, which is funny because in that area, it's so expensive to live anywhere. It's like multi-millions of dollars to own like a 2-bedroom home. It's ridiculous, and the San Francisco Silicon Valley area is nuts.
Oh yeah, it's yeah.
Um, Here's another one. Now that we've talked about how great Blizzard is, there's another game called Apex Legends, and
Yeah.
that studio is called Respawn. And not long ago, there was a it's kind of funny how this goes, but basically, they are making the new Star Wars game, and
Mhm.
they were releasing some patch notes, both about Star Wars and then talking about some changes they were making to Apex Legends or something. And one of their developers gets on Twitter and he starts arguing with players. And then he gets on Reddit and starts arguing with players again. I don't know if it was what the circumstance was. Maybe he's burnt out. I don't know. But he starts, calling players, unsavory names or whatever as a developer. So I'm thinking, great, this is a dev doing it. So where's the community manager, the guy that's supposed to sort of handle this stuff?
Right.
Um, so then the community manager gets on and starts berating players. It's
Oh
like,
no.
and so of course, Reddit picks up on that, and then they become like, here come all the pitchforks and torches and shit. Um, they have since made up for that. But then the producer came out and basically said, you know what, we had a talk, and that was an inappropriate, way to deal with things or whatever. But that was kind of an interesting one where I can't remember the last time a community manager came out and like just straight up berating their players, because community manager is supposed to be like the go between, right, between the devs
Yeah.
and the player base.
Yeah.
So yeah, I saw that and was like, wow, that guy's fired today. And somehow he still has his job, so I don't know. Guess he
I
may.
mean, it's definitely hard. People on the internet can just be like terrible.
Right.
So it's not good to talk to players like that. Like you're not that's not how you do your job correctly.
Right.
But also, I mean, like maybe he just snapped. Like cuz the internet can be a difficult place to be
Sure.
and to maneuver in and to deal with player feedback.
Hmm.
And also, I mean, I've noticed, not just even in my job, just like through streaming. A lot of people will talk about things that they think they know what they're talking about and
Sure.
they have no idea.
Hmm.
And you just want to correct them, and you shouldn't. You
Yeah.
shouldn't correct them at all. Like just let it go. Like don't even poke the bear.
Right.
But you want
Actually.
to correct them so bad because it's just so obnoxious to watch them just word vomit like they have a degree in it, and you're just like, that's not how that works. Like it's just like but you gotta learn to let it go, and you gotta learn to just talk it out like in a respectful manner if you
Yeah.
choose to talk it out, because yeah, no, berating players is not going to get you anywhere, and
No.
it's not
Yeah.
a good idea. It's
It's only
not
gonna
at
look
all.
bad for you, especially with Respawn. They have Star Wars coming out. Like, you don't want any kind of ill will, right? You want all the
Right.
player base to be super happy with everything, so that game sells off the shelves.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I remember thinking about that, like, oh, where's that CM? Where's he gonna come in? And then he comes in berating people, like, wow, isn't it that dude's job to not do
To
that?
not to tell the dev to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, I'll handle the communication. There's actually another studio called Capital Games, which is a sub studio to EA, and they make a
Hmm.
mobile Star Wars game that I
Hmm.
that I play. And in that community, they had the same problem with the CM. And in that case, it's like you were saying, like they had a bad day and like got super burnt out, and it was just too much hate. Um, but sort of a little bit of my stance is, yeah, the internet can be a rough place, but it's still the internet. And like, I don't know what your expectations of the internet are, but you just always expect the worst on the internet. And you'll
Right.
probably be fine. If you post anything, you post your picture online, just expect someone to come in and tell you look like shit today. It's always going to
Yeah. I
happen.
mean, like, oh my god, the internet is terrible.
Right. And I think the bonus for us is that we sort of grew up with the internet, so we know that happens. Um,
Yeah.
there may be
I mean,
some.
but you still aren't used to it for sure.
Yeah.
Cause like, I mean, like it's I get it like a lot. So I still get hate. So it's just like it's not something that's fun to deal with. And you do want to argue, like your first instinct is to just argue with them. And you gotta take a step back and like not, because
Yeah.
it's not gonna solve anything. It's not like you're gonna teach them to be nicer to people. Like
Right.
that's just you just gotta
Oh,
let it go.
yeah. I know. I went in and called Mosh ugly, and then he said, "Hey, shut up, you're wrong." And I said, "Oh yeah, of course I'm wrong.
Of course I'm
It's never
wrong.
gonna
Wow.
happen."
Life lesson.
You
Yeah,
know
like
what?
that's not you
He's
just gotta
right.
let it go.
Right. But yeah, so that CM response is like, "Wow, man, how do you still have a job? That's literally your entire job, is to not argue with the with the player base." It was crazy. Um
Yeah, that sounds crazy.
the Oh, I know what I want to talk about. Kickstarter. Um
Kickstarter.
so Kickstarter is this weird entity, right? Especially when it comes to game development. Um
Mhm.
so there's been a couple of things that came out recently. I think the new Shenmue game or whatever it was, that there was some issue with EGS there where they said they were going to release on Steam and then they didn't, but that's a separate thing. But there's like so many games being funded on Kickstarter these days that are sort of like indies, or at least they get started like that, unless you're Star Citizen and then you somehow raise like the GDP of any country in the world through Kickstarter, which is what they raise, like $1 billion, like ridiculous.
Something like that.
Um, what like how do you and the indie studio crowd sort of see the Kickstarter campaigns?
I don't if you can't, I mean, me personally, I can't speak for my company because I don't know what date. I don't know how they feel.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think Kickstarters are a great way for people who can't get like bigger, better funding
Hmm.
to kind of get off the ground. If you don't have any of those like corporate connections or like ways to fund your project, like again, games cost money to
Right.
make.
Yeah.
They're very expensive to make. And like, unless you're going to be like the Stardew Valley kid who literally made that game by himself,
Or
um,
Notch, right? I mean, made Minecraft, I think, by himself. It's like a
yeah.
billion-dollar
And
game.
even Rebecca behind Ooblets. And I know that Ooblets is like a touchy subject with what went down with them, but
Oh, I don't even know
um,
that. I'll need to hear that in a moment.
I see. I don't even like talking about like poorly about what went down with them because I actually really love and respect Rebecca. But
Sorry, it's
she
just
made
Pikachu
like
talking. It's okay.
it's just Pikachu talking. This isn't. I don't know what you're talking
There's no
about.
one behind this.
Pika Pika. That's how I'm gonna get out of this. But like she started Ooblets by herself.
Yeah,
So unless you're gonna solo game dev your way into a great bestseller game of the year, um, if you don't have those corporate connections, Kickstarter is a great way to crowdfund. It's
sure.
also a great way to see if you have a fan base or
That's a
see if you
great
can
point. Yeah,
cultivate a fan base
yeah,
because if you can prove even just through Kickstarter that you have a dedicated fan base that's going to support this game, you can then use that to get funding
exactly. Yeah,
and expand. So like you don't even need to raise a ton of money on Kickstarter to prove that your game is worth funding.
hmm,
As long as you have that crowd, like, because again, like you could crowdfund, you could get your entire budget through Kickstarter, promise a bunch of stuff, make the game, pay all your devs, and then put the game out and it's great. Or you could get a dedicated fan base, prove through analytics that you have a dedicated fan base, and then go to those corporate companies that thought you were just a dude in your basement making a game or a girl in your basement making a game. And you could use those facts to back up them putting money into your project.
sure. And I
So
bet you could take that sort of stuff to EGS, like we said earlier. Like, yeah,
yeah,
there's a million people that whatever you call it on Kickstarter, like
yeah,
committed.
like you could be like, I have 50,000 people backing my Kickstarter. I have a Discord with 10,000 members. I put out email updates and I have 15,000 people signed up for the email update. Like if you come in with all those numbers, they're going to be like chucking money at you.
Oh
If
yeah,
they think that it's if they think those numbers mean that they'll get sales out of it, they're going to give you funding. So I think Kickstarter is a great way for people to fund their projects when they don't have connections.
yeah. And I think you were right on again with the to sort of building the fan base. Like, let's say that you are a new developer or something, you think you got this great idea for a game, you put it on Kickstarter, and like if it is a great idea, and if it's a space that people are like, hey, this is filling a role, this is something that I want, like they'll go crazy for it. And but maybe you have an idea that's not there, not fully developed, not ready yet, and then no one's interested in it. That could send you back to the drawing board. Then you come back later. It's a good way to gauge like public interest, I guess. And if your
Oh yeah, for
project
sure.
has legs to go anywhere, that's another great way to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, it costs nothing to like promise people some stickers. I mean, it does
Right.
cost something to make the stickers, but like, if you promise certain stuff, like you can still fulfill those promises even later down the line if you get funding. I mean, granted, like maybe if you get exclusivity rights, you can't promise a Steam copy anymore. But like, if you just say, "Oh, I promise you a copy of the game," like
Right.
you just have to give them a copy of the game. You didn't promise which platform it's on.
Exactly. I think
So
that's where that. Yeah.
you can still make those promises and still fulfill like and I think a lot of people, if people really do support your project, they should be happy that you got funding because then that means you can make a better product.
True. And I think sort of in the same vein, like I think there's developers out there that maybe their sort of dream is to make a game, or they want to, that's what they have this great idea, they've been working on it forever, and they just don't have time. You know what I mean? They don't,
Yeah.
like, they work their job, they can't really code at work, you know, and they need funding to be able to, like, okay, I need to take like 3 months off to really crank this game out, and I need money to
Mhm.
eat. So Kickstarter's not
Yeah.
a bad way to do that either.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's, I mean, Kickstarter's been bigger and bigger a trend. I have a lot of friends that basically like patrol the indie Kickstarter scene and, you know, back like 50 games a day, but
Yeah.
which is great, and some of them succeed, and become huge, like Minecraft. Actually, I don't think Minecraft started on Kickstarter. I don't remember. I think
I
Notch might have
don't.
just made that and then sold it to Microsoft for like $6 trillion or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
Um,
But I've always liked the idea of Kickstarter. I don't know.
yeah,
I like I if I wanted to make like a solo project, I would probably do it through Kickstarter.
yeah, I agree. And I think there's other stuff like Kickstarter, but I think Kickstarter is the most famous of those crowdfunding things. Maybe Indiegogo too, but I don't know the in and outs of that.
Well, also I just like Kickstarter in the sense like if you're gonna like choose between Kickstarter or like GoFundMe, like GoFundMe has like no like you literally just like that's like just giving someone a link to your PayPal. Like
Right? Yeah, exactly.
there is nothing that like you I saw a little kid like put on GoFundMe like, "Hey guys, donate to my GoFundMe so that I can afford a PlayStation 4." And I'm like, "What do I get out of that?" Like, you get a PlayStation 4? Like, how is
Yeah,
that?
you get his username.
I get it.
Yeah, you can play
But
Fortnite with
it's
him.
just
Yeah,
like it's like at least with Kickstarter, like they're believable. Like it's a product, it's a
yeah,
project, and like they're gonna try and give you something in return. But like you also can see the development process behind it, and you can see like it coming to fruition.
yeah,
So it's definitely something
yeah.
that I
It's
think works for those kind of projects.
Yeah, I like those Patreon, or I'm thinking of Patreon tiers, but it's the same thing. You know, the tiers of Kickstarter or whatever, and
Yeah,
how they provide like different cool things. Like the last one's always like, hey, if you donate, you know, $10,000, I'll fly you out here. We'll have lunch. You know, there's always something like that, or
yeah,
you get your name in the game or something. Um, but yeah, it's kind of a healthy industry tactic too, like where games can exist that aren't studio games. You know what I mean? That you could make something and get it off the ground outside of going to big publishers to get that stuff done.
oh yeah, that
Plus, you can see
too.
a ton
Like I
of
mean,
other styles of games too, right? There's not all BRs. There's not all battle royale games. There's something else
right.
weird, like the freaking duck game or goose game that just came out.
I love that game.
I know. I saw the clip of you finding all
The
the bells or whatever.
The Untitled Goose Game is the greatest game. I think that's game of the year. I'm just gonna say it now.
Wow.
I know I'm a traitor to my studio, but I'm sorry. That game is gold. Also, I love the meme. There's like a meme that was like, game devs, our player, like it was like game devs colon. It was like our players want top tier, exciting, photorealistic, like high quality
Yeah.
out like 12 hours of gameplay, 12 plus hours of gameplay, like story dialogue, like the whole nine yards, like just listing all of these different things. And then it was like players colon, and it was like, haha, look at this dumb goose.
Look at this. Look at this goose that honks at people.
Look at this dumb goose. Look, I'm a goose. Like, it's literally like gamers want all this stuff, and it's like, no, we just want to be a goose and harass people.
Yeah. Do you remember the game Katamari Damacy?
Yes.
Where you, I remember playing that game at first and thinking the same thing, like, oh, what kind of game is it? Is it like a fighting game or a racing game or a shooting game? And I play it, it's like, no, you just
There's a
roll
ball of
around
stuff.
and pick up shit.
A ball of stuff.
And it's so fun. It's so
It's
fun.
great. It's so great. But yeah, no, like the goose game is just that game blew my mind. It was great. It was so good.
I haven't played it yet, but I think I've seen so many people stream it that I get the gist, and it's very funny. The game,
Yes.
it's a
Also,
great
I
game to
mean, like
watch.
you get a list of tasks,
Hmm.
and it's up to you to figure out how you want to complete those tasks. And what's funny is that like you would think that there's only like one solution,
Hmm.
and in some cases there is like one solution in terms of like there's one solution to completing that task, but there's so many different ways that you can come to that solution. And I think that's also what makes the game so great, because it's about like your creativity,
Right.
and also how much extra time are you going to spend harassing people before you do what's on the damn list. Like, because I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure I spent 20 minutes chasing the child around, honking at him and making him cry before I actually did any of the list items in that area. So
So it's in you're like,
it's
Zoe, that's not an objective. You're just like making
yeah.
this child cry.
I'm like, but it's fun.
Yeah, I think I saw a friend of mine, AF Kate, was playing it, and I haven't played the game yet, but she was at a part where like there was a farmer or something hitting a hammer on a post, and like she was honking at it when he was
Mhm.
about to hit the hammer. It was really weird and funny.
It was great.
But
Yeah.
so that's kind of another point about like you said, the studio wants all this different stuff, and then there's a Goose Game that becomes the best selling game of the year. Like there's room for innovation versus safety in terms of game development,
Right.
right?
Right.
So like, do you
And that's
need?
not saying that anything else is bad, but
Yeah,
that Goose Game is like 10 out of 10, like S
sure.
tier.
But does that studio then like let's say that I don't know who made that. Is that an indie studio that made the Goose Game?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. So let's say they go, "Wow, we had a big hit with this Goose Game. Now we need to get some, now we have all this funding to make something bigger." And like at that point do they go, "You know what? Let's make something safe, like a shooter that is going to sell." You know what I mean? It's like a or whatever, like a racing game, or whatever it is
Mhm.
that's the standard one. And then like save like a side pot of money for like the passion project, like now there's a turtle game or whatever, like make one that's what do they always say for like actors where they do what this one's for the studio and then this is my passion project, like it's
Oh, yeah, yeah,
is it
yeah.
something like that with studios? That'd be kind of interesting to look at it from that point of view. Maybe that's a
I
publisher
think
thing.
yeah, I think well, I think if you make like like if you make a weird game and it does really well, you're going to want to make more weird games because at
Yeah,
least you found your niche. But if you make a weird game and it does okay, I think that's when people feel like they need to slide into like a more safe um
right, like
or more safe choice.
yeah, like find out what the
But I
pulse of things is.
also, the thing though about the Goose Game is that it works so well. But I think if that studio were to make more games exactly like that,
Yeah, no, there's a cat game.
it
Yeah,
it would it would die.
yeah,
It would just it would not be as good. The reason why that game is successful is because it's uniquely its own, it's hilarious, and it's different. And once you start making different the same, it loses that special quality. So
that's a
I
really good point. Yeah,
I hope though that if they were so creative to come up with the Goose Game, I feel like they have more ideas
yeah,
just as good, different but just as good. And so I'm excited to see what they do next, because I'm hoping that they don't get like the dollar sign eyes
right,
and make the
yeah.
same game over and over again. I'm hoping that they stick to their creativity and their uniqueness, and they just make other just as good, unique, and funny games.
Which is the dream,
So
right? You want them to keep
that's
making
the
those
dream.
type of games.
I want them to I want them to keep being funny and weird. I
Yeah.
don't want them to keep making like I would not be very impressed if they made like Untitled Badger game and you're just a badger running
I'm
around.
done.
Like I'm sure
Yeah.
it would still be funny, but after a while it would probably get old, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And I think the
Although I'm
same thing.
totally down for a Goose DLC. I would take a Goose DLC.
Was it just like in a different setting? Now the goose is
Yeah.
blue. But yeah, that's a really great point on keeping the creativity in smalls. And I wonder if it's easier in smaller studios too, with a smaller budget, smaller overhead. It's easier to flex, you know, money on something smaller. Whereas a big studio, maybe you have to meet certain deadlines to keep your people employed, or I don't know, or keep the stockholders happy. I'm sure there's a lot of business decisions involved in that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, let's talk about you a little bit.
Okay.
You, I guess it's sort of gaming as well, but the idea of Just Dance and Ubisoft, and you kind of have a unique relationship with them. I think you're like an Ubisoft VIP or
It's
star.
like yeah, star player.
Yeah. Um, what exactly does that mean? Is that like you're an influencer with the team, or what does that entail?
Kind of. So basically, every year for major events like E3 and I think they did it for Gamescom. Um, they find content creators on YouTube, Twitch, Instagram. You could be a cosplayer, you could be a fan artist,
Hmm.
just someone that promotes the brand in a positive way, um, that, really contributes to spreading Ubisoft games, or
Yeah.
um, like anything that's related to a Ubisoft game. And then yeah, they just kind of like pick you to be a star player. And so for E3, for instance, the star players that went to E3 were all sent there by Ubisoft, and we all kind of like were there for our retrospective game. Um, and you're kind of just like branded as a star player for that year, and it just kind of means that they recognize you as a content creator for them and for their brand.
Well, that's awesome. I think I remember seeing your tweet about becoming a star player or something like that.
Yeah, it was crazy. I felt really bad because I like,
Felt bad?
well, because like, I felt
I
really
hate
bad when
this.
I found out.
Yeah.
I loved it. I'm so honored, and like, I still don't really fully grasp it and comprehend it. But when they told me that I got star player, they had come into my chat,
Oh, that's
and
right. Yes.
this was before Twitch fixed chat colors. So
Oh,
this was
okay.
before they fixed like the hard to read. So like before, if you were in dark mode and someone came in and had a dark blue name, you couldn't read it like at
Yeah.
all.
Uh-huh.
So it just so happened that that day Ubisoft had a dark blue name.
Who's this troll in my chat? Yeah.
And they just were like saying weird things in my chat, and I was like responding to them, but I wasn't actually reading their name because I couldn't read their name. And then everyone yelling at me because they didn't understand why I wasn't freaking out. And like I wasn't saying hi to them. And then Streamlabs that day decided to not give me the notification that Ubisoft had followed me. So I just completely missed it. And I was on the world dance floor, so I only had 10 seconds to talk to people in between songs. So I managed to get through like 2 full songs when they were like, "Oh my god, Zoe, what is wrong with you?"
Can you
Like,
please focus?
can you please acknowledge them in chat? Like, can you please focus and like pay attention to chat? Check your email. Like, they're here for a reason. You're just like dodging them. Like,
Right.
what is happening? And I felt really bad about it. It was very
That's so
not
great.
great.
I mean,
But
it's so natural, that reaction, though. I'm sure that was great.
oh yeah, well I couldn't tell it was them. I couldn't read their name.
And
I had
watch your
no
mods in
idea.
Discord are like tagging you 1,000 times. Please stop.
Yeah, they're like, "Please stop dancing."
That's so awesome. Um, so you got to dance on the stage at E3. I remember watching that.
I
That was
did.
really great.
The
Um,
UB3 conference. That was
yes.
crazy. I never thought I'd be on an stage, nonetheless, like dancing on an E3 conference stage. So that was, again, I can't comprehend it. I'm just like living, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm not really paying attention to things because I try to think about them and it hurts my brain.
So, does the like when people become star players or whatever, get that relationship with Ubisoft, does that, like in your case, does that apply specifically to Just Dance, or does that also apply to like other titles, or do you like express to them like, hey, I'm also interested in playing, oh crap, I don't know what else they do, Division or something like that?
Yeah, so like you meet kind of all the community managers of
Hmm.
all the different retrospective games. And there's like a Discord, and so like you can like basically like game hop for sure.
Yeah.
But of course, like you're representing that one game that they
Hmm.
picked you for. But yeah, you can still like like make relationships with people from other games, both players and devs. And yeah, I mean, I kind of play like an array. Like they know you play an array of like
Yeah.
different stuff.
Sure.
And so like Ghost Recon came out, and I was able to get a code from Ubisoft for Ghost Recon. So like
That's
they
awesome.
definitely they don't see me as just a Just Dancer, but I'm hoping that they see me as a Just Dancer for, stuff that definitely involves Just Dance.
Yeah, that involves Just Dance.
Yeah.
So, we've talked a bunch on this show about Twitch. That's one of our big topics. Do a couple different shows, but sometimes we talk about Twitch theory and stuff. And one of the topics that we've talked about before is Twitch communities, and how, in particular, I always brought up the Dead by Daylight community, which seems very like the people that play Dead by Daylight all day, that's their main game. They really
Mhm.
like stick together. Like they raid each other. They don't really go outside. It's like a close knit community from what I've seen on Twitch. And I Just Dance seems the same to me because I know that I mean I guess I don't know, but from what I read on Twitter, like you and Avery are close and friends and stuff, and you're both you know Just Dance streamers. I think she's
Yeah,
also at
she's my
Ubisoft.
mom.
Okay. But same thing with Asian Sensation, right? The same type of thing, that sort of core group, I guess, of you guys sort of stick together
Mhm.
a little bit. And is that like I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like, is it easier? Is it? It almost seems less competitive. Like sometimes when people stream the same game, they see their other people streaming it as competition and compare themselves to each other. But you guys seem like, I mean, I'm sure you're genuine friends, but you seem way less competitive than a lot of other communities I've seen.
Yeah, we're definitely like a family.
Yeah.
I think that's like also just like a dancer thing.
Mm,
I danced growing up like my whole life, so dance is very much almost like like how like theater kids
yeah.
like they were always like super like glued to each other, and every time they had a show, they would like cry over each other and like
Yeah.
as if they were never going to see each other again. But y'all went to the same high school, so like I don't understand that.
Yeah. I'll see you tomorrow.
Um, yeah, like what? But like it was like a family because you spent so much time together, and it was like an emotional like journey through. I can't believe I just said journey. I hate myself. It was like an emotional like trip through this like story, and like you all had like a part in it, and it was just like it brought you closer together. Dance is very much like that
Yeah.
because dance is emotional. Um, it's absolutely like it's exercise, but it's also mental exercise.
Hmm.
Songs can give you emotion, dancing can give you emotion. Like you use emotion when you dance, you connect with lyrics, you connect through the rhythm. Like it's a very like mind body soul kind of activity.
Hmm.
And when you connect with other people who share that same experience, it's very much so like a bond, like a family aspect. We all support each other. Also, dancing on the internet is terrifying. Like it's we're not playing we're not playing a competitive game where we have
Yeah.
to click buttons and pay attention. Like we're doing something that makes us vulnerable. We
True.
are putting everything out like and I'm talking about the people that play Just Dance. I just want to preface like there are some people who quote unquote play Just Dance on Twitch. Those are not the people I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know.
I wish them
Yeah.
the best. I
Yeah.
wish them the best. Like do you, but that's that's not the same. Um
It's
but like when you're dancing, you're vulnerable. There's a possibility that you do something wrong. You might do something embarrassing. You might fall. You might laugh. You might like your body makes noises when you dance. That's why you mute your mic. But like it's very difficult, and also it's very exhausting. It's a you have to be entertaining, you have to be on at the same time as exercising, and
sure.
because it is exercise.
That's a healthy
So
way to go about it. A lot of streamers
yeah,
struggle with their health, I think, sitting all day.
yeah, so we definitely bond over this mental physical activity because it's already an exhausting sport
Yeah.
to dance. It's so much more exhausting to also be in a competition with another person. And we have like friendly competitions. Like I always challenge Asian to the world dance floor so that I can try and beat him.
He's a great dancer.
But
I mean, you're both great dancers. He's great.
he's so good. Okay, don't like he's better. He's not here, so I can say this. He's better than me at dancing, and if he tells you otherwise, he is wrong because all you have to do is check all of his scores. Okay, they're all higher than mine. So, um, but yeah, no, like we dance is something that like brings people together,
Yeah.
and there's no room for that like weird competitive hatred. And that's not to say that it doesn't exist in the Just Dance community.
Yeah.
It does. It totally does.
I think
There are
that
some
probably has more to
people,
do with like the Twitch side of it, right? Like probably.
not even. It
Oh,
has to
really?
do with
Okay.
it has to do with the Just Dance World Cup.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
there's a lot of competitors in the Just Dance World Cup that are just not kind people. They're in it to win it. They
Yeah.
are very competitive. They are very like they don't share their secrets. They don't
Oh.
they don't share like their strategies. Like they're very kept to themselves, and those are just people we don't associate with.
Yeah.
But when I wanted to do the World Cup qualifiers last year, I wanted to have fun with it,
Mhm.
and I didn't really want to make it a competitive thing because I don't tend to like what that does to you when you get super competitive.
Yeah. In a
So
different
I
mindset.
created,
Yeah.
yeah, so I created a Discord to have us all kind of like help each other, give each other tips, teach each other how to do the dances right, how to get the highest scores, cheer each other on, encourage each other to practice.
Yeah.
So I started this Discord, and that's kind of how I think we got a lot closer
Hmm.
because I invited Avery to join, and that's how I got closer to her.
Mhm.
And then we just kept inviting more and more people who were going to be doing the qualifiers, and we kind of just went through this thing together. And then it's expanded beyond that. Like the people that were in that Discord are not the only people that you might see in the Just Dance group.
Yeah.
And that's not just because of me. That's because of Avery, as like especially because she has her center stage team. She really encourages everyone to dance.
Mhm.
A lot of it also just stems from her. She's talked about this before, where uh for a long while she was like the only like real Just Dance streamer on the platform,
Hmm.
and so now that more people are getting into it,
It's not so lonely
she's
or something.
yeah, she's not alone. She
Yeah.
doesn't feel alone, and so I think that her kind of setting that standard of accepting people when they join the dance community rather than seeing them as competition
Yeah.
is also what kind of helps create that mentality that we're all in this together.
Sure.
Goddamn High School Musical quote. But it kind of like sets that precedent that like
Like, hey, we're
this
a
is
welcoming community. This is how we behave here. Something like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. And it's again, it's a vulnerable thing to do on the internet. So like we want to try and encourage everyone who tries it that this is like a safe
Sure.
place to do it, and you're going to have friends, and you're not going to be like dragged for doing it, and like
Yeah.
but we definitely bond over it for sure. Plus that game is so much fun with people. The game is so much more fun with other
I
people.
I think I saw. Didn't I see? I mean, you've probably done it several times, but I think I saw a co-stream with you and Asian at some point, maybe at his house or at your house. I don't know where.
Yeah, we've done a couple
Yeah, but it
where
was pretty
whenever we
cool.
get together, we do Just Dance together cuz there's like duos in that song.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah,
Um
yeah.
and like also at like conventions, like I know that a lot like at E3 and at PAX, we all try to go to someone's house to have like one big Just Dance stream where a bunch of us are on it.
That'd be super
'Cause,
fun.
like,
Yeah.
the game has up to 4 players. Like you can have 4 people dancing at the same time.
Yeah. My
Uh,
daughter and I and the family play it sometimes. So I get it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Um,
yeah, so it's fun.
I mean, you sort of touched on it a little bit that, there's a lot of people that stream to the game, that stream to the category. Maybe not all of them are really trying to dance and get, that kind of stuff. Um, so the idea, and I talk about you and Avery on the show, well, almost every time we talk about Just Dance, but that I sort of describe it like, if you're watching different Just Dance streamers, and no hate or anything like that, but you see someone like kind of getting pretty serious about it, and they're wearing like dancing attire. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, it's like that person's probably a higher quality of dancing. Like that's the person you want to study. Because and you and Avery are good. Like the outfits are great, but they're always like it's like athletic wear. It's not.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's one of the things I like about Just Dance in terms of streaming, because like you were saying, there's a vulnerability to it, but there's so many like extra creative things you can do, like
Oh yeah, absolutely.
costumes, different clothing or whatever. You got new sneakers. I seem to, for whatever reason, I always notice Avery's sneakers. She always seems like she's got some cool ass sneakers on, but like,
Yeah.
hair different. Like, there's all kinds of different interesting things you can do with that category that you can't really do, just sitting in a chair playing Apex Legends or something.
Right, right. Yeah, no, there's so much creativity. Avery's been doing this new thing too that I'm like obsessed with, where she edited a bunch of songs so that they're all like they're all like messed up. Like the sound is like all wonky and like it like goes up really high and then goes down really low. And then the dancer is like a wiggly like video.
Oh my God, I saw a
Um,
clip of that, I think, or
it's
something. She put it on
so
Twitter.
funny.
Yeah.
It's so funny. And like there's creative stuff like that. I mean, like Asian did the whole Asian Derulo thing where he like had a mic and he was singing the songs and acting like he was in a boy band.
That's awesome.
There's blacklight streams. I love doing blacklight streams. They're the best. They're so much fun. Um, there's costumes. I've done costumes. I think everyone's done costumes at
Hmm.
some point.
I
It
really like,
just
yeah. Go
it's
ahead.
definitely more entertaining. There's more freedom to it for sure, and it allows you to be creative.
So,
Um,
so that,
so
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
no, yeah, it allows you to be more creative. I think the only like the people I classify as like not Just Dance streamers
Hmm.
are never in the Just Dance category.
Right. Yeah. They're just chatting or
So
something like
like
that.
if you go into the Just Dance category, like you find like the legit, like determined actual people who like dancing dancers, and then if you see Just Dance anywhere else on the platform and it's not in that category, those are just people that I'm like, all right, you do you. I'm not gonna judge, but like you're also not playing the game, so
Right. Yeah.
because if you were playing the game, you would use the directory because that's literally why it's there.
Right. I remember that was a big topic of debate, I think, after like the categories shifted at some time. And I can't remember what
Yeah,
happened. Like maybe just chatting was created. Oh, maybe it was the split from IRL.
yeah,
And there was like an issue where like there was a lot of Just Dance streamers and just chatting. But I mean, that's a Twitch game as well, like to
yeah.
grab viewers, but
I
whatever.
just hate. I just hate like the only thing I hate about it is the stigma that comes with it
Yeah.
when I tell people that I stream Just Dance. Because I have to preface, unfortunately, I have to preface that I actively play the game competitively.
Yeah, that fucking
Like, which
sucks.
I
That
don't even play
sucks.
the
Yeah.
game competitively. Like if we're, being honest, I don't play the game I mean, I'm competitive against myself. I want to get a higher score, but like I have to either say I play Just Dance competitively or I play Just Dance for score. Like
Mm,
I have to like specify how I play
yeah.
because if I say that I'm a Just Dance streamer, people write it off as you're in just chatting and you jump up and down. And
Yeah.
that kind of sucks
It
cuz
that definitely sucks. I
I like
actually
to
didn't
think
think
that
about
my
it that way.
content is more than that.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, that's a really good point that I didn't think about. Like you get that reverse stigma of now I'm branded as that. You know what I mean? By
Mhm.
default. That's crazy. I did not even think about that. Um, so on the sort of the innovation on style of clothing, I think is like one of the coolest things. And Asian has really dope sneakers too. I love his sneakers. But
Yeah, except also Asian dresses like an Eskimo, like when he dances. Like he's always in like 3 sweatshirts and like
yeah,
4 pairs of sweatpants, and I'm like, dude,
how are you not
please,
dying of
please
heat?
wear shorts and a tank top so that you don't die.
Right.
Like we care about you.
It's got to
Like
be super hot. Yeah.
please stop trying to sweat to death.
6 towels and 17 bottles of water
You
later.
don't need to play Bikram Just Dance, okay? It's not a thing. You
It's
don't need to do
it's
it.
probably a really good like weight training thing too. Like if you're trying to lose weight or something, it's a great exercise, I'm sure.
I mean, yeah, I guess I'm like
Uh,
I just I think Avery did the whole cosplay like thing where people voted on which Just Dancer she would dress up as. She had to dress up as me.
oh, nice.
But
I think I might have missed that. Yeah.
people were asking her, they were like, why didn't you put Asian on the poll? Like, why is he not one of the options? And she
Oh.
was like, are you kidding me? She was like, have you seen what he wears? She's like, I would
I'm
die.
not wearing 6 sweatshirts when I
She's like,
dance.
I can't wear long sleeves and long pants. She's like, I don't even have AC. Like, are you kidding me?
Maybe he just has like a walk-in refrigerator and that's where he streams
I
from.
think he dances in a freezer. I think he does.
There's like meat hanging behind, like big slabs of meat or something.
Yeah.
Um So another cool thing that I really like about the Just Dance category and your guys' streams in particular, and I know there's a lot of other streamers, by the way. I'm not necessarily picking on just you and Avery and Asian, but those are the ones that I know. um,
That's fair.
but like the background set design is so interesting with Just Dance. And it's something that, you could do it a little bit when you're sitting down streaming, like I have a couple things in my background, there's some lights and some other stuff, but like some of the backgrounds is so freaking cool, like with the lighting. And I remember, I don't know if you still have it on your show, but there was something where like you could trigger that the light that you had at one point in the corner of your room that would change like while the
Yes.
music was playing, whatever.
Yeah.
That was really
All my
interesting.
crazy lighting.
Um, but yeah, there's all kinds of like extra cool creative stuff you can do that's not super available to other gaming styles.
Yeah, Lily Vanilli has like the funnest like background. She has like 8 million stuffed animals and like the crazy wall lights and the changing lights elsewhere. Like she just has the coolest, like craziest, like funnest background. Avery has like the like very
So I was
staged,
about to say hers
like
is like a stage, right?
clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it looks like a stage and it's very clean and it's very like it's so professional looking and I honestly like I'm so jealous of her setup because I want my room to look very nice like that. But yeah, no. And everyone's so like different and creative. Like some people just have like their home and you just kind of get to see their living room and you get
Yeah.
to see where they like where they're at and stuff. Yeah, like it's cool to see all the different things that people can do. I'm trying to make my room look nicer. Not that I can actually use it right now, but I'm trying to make it look a little more lived in and a little less blank.
The yeah, there, I mean, there's so many cool things that I could think of to do with that. It's so, and I bring it, there's a cooking show. There's a streamer that I watch that does a cooking show where she like in her background on the wall of her kitchen, she has two like green screen spots where she scrolls stuff behind it to make it look like it's like a prairie or something. It was kind of interesting.
Oh my
But that,
god.
yeah, it's really cool. But there's a lot of like different really creative stuff that you can do, and I freaking love that. Just Dance streamers are
Mhm.
so creative. It's, I hate you. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Um, so how about like I've seen some things that Avery is doing like outside dancing stuff, and so that it's sort of what I'm not necessarily about her, but it's like being in Just Dance and sort of being like you say like a competitive and like really trying to get better at the game and also your dancing style or whatever. Is that almost like an easier transition like into other areas of entertainment? Sort of like you can move into a professional dance group maybe, or you could move into, you know, maybe like acting or something like that that gives you like a different skill set than, you know, being getting 100 headshots in Fortnite or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely has like a more like versatile way of like expanding. Cuz you know, dancing takes stage presence.
Right.
It takes like an entertaining quality, so like you can kind of be like, well, if I have this stage presence, I can use that stage presence to be like a professional, like I can use my skills and my stage presence to be a professional dancer. I can use my
Yeah.
skills and stage presence to be like on camera or an announcer or you know like a spokesperson. I can use that to yeah do act to do a bunch of things. I definitely think that it's like takes a little more than just dance.
Sure.
I know
Yeah.
that like to be a professional dancer, like it was funny because like being so at E3, we did like rehearsals with like the professional dancers that were on stage with us.
Oh, how was that?
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. But it was so funny meeting like serious professional dancers
Yeah.
who have been training their whole lives. They take many classes every week
Mm-hmm.
to train and to be on and to do the job that they do, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of training. And it's just, but it was so funny to meet them. And they kind of like were like, oh, yeah, you guys play like a dance video game. Like, that's cool. Like,
Oh no.
they didn't, but then we danced and they were like, oh my God, you can actually dance.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm not
even,
pretending. Yeah. Yeah.
like, but like, they don't, you know, like in the professional world, they don't see a video game as
Yeah, that's true.
like training, you know?
Hmm.
And so they were very shocked that we could actually dance. And then, you know, a couple of us were like, well, we have like I know I was like, I've been dancing since I was 3. Like I've taken classes, I've had traditional training,
Hmm.
I like am I did as much dance as you guys did when you were little.
Right.
Granted, I didn't continue it into college, but like that's the only difference kind of thing, you know? And so I think if you wanted to take like your Just Dance career and you wanted to go into more professional dancing, you would have to take classes and
Sure.
do more training to get that experience and to get that kind of background that people feel that you need in order to take you seriously. But I think like being a Just Dance streamer gives you those skills at least to start from.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. It's like a step up than starting from zero, right?
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I always thought that was kind of interesting, especially when, you go out and you're doing different things in the, with the dancing or whatever that I've seen some streamers doing. Um, so what about injury? uh,
Oh.
I know it's a rough subject, but
Oh.
especially in that category, like obviously getting physically injured is gonna put downtime into the mix, right? You can't really
It's
dance if you're hurt,
terrible.
right? So and
It's so sad.
right, and by the way, is there any like light at the end of the tunnel with that, or what's
I'll find out tomorrow. I had to get an and I'm getting my results tomorrow morning.
Jesus? Well,
So
hopefully,
everyone cross their fingers. Although
yeah,
it's really not like no matter what, and not to be a total pessimist, but no matter what, I'm kind of screwed because if it's serious, like a serious injury,
yeah,
it might require surgery,
ugh,
which would mean months out of commission.
yeah,
Um, if it's not serious, it requires very big needles. Like,
ugh, yeah,
so like I'm really not in like a good spot right now. But no, for streaming wise, it sucks. I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be honest. I'm
yeah.
gonna be completely transparent. It's not great.
Because
I also love dancing. Like I don't play Just Dance just because like
you don't like
it's
it, yeah.
fun.
You'd have to
Like
like it, yeah.
I love dancing, and I have always danced since I was 3 years old. And I use Just Dance as a way to dance when I couldn't take traditional classes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I love doing it, and it's kind of what I cultivated a majority of my community around.
Mm-hmm.
And so to have to all of a sudden stop creating content that people followed me for,
Right.
and that people watched me for, is heartbreaking and also not great for my channel.
Right.
And I've had to kind of do like a 180 and try and find content that was just as entertaining. I've had to experiment with my content, and try new games and see
Like the Goose Game.
like the Goose Game.
Yeah.
But I've had to switch it up a bit, try and be more creative in other areas of content creation.
Sure.
I started making TikToks because I couldn't
Hey,
do
they've been
anything
pretty
else.
good. Your TikToks are pretty sweet.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, but I've tried to find other outlets to be creative in while I figure out what I'm doing with my body.
Right.
Because I want to get back to dancing, but that's just not an option right now. And so I'm trying to stay afloat and still be creative and still try and do things. But it definitely took a hit, and it was not fun.
Yeah.
And
And that's kind of like the life of Twitch too, right? Like you see, um, and we talked about it a lot on the show, but it's like there'll be streamers. I mean, you get streamers get big and partner, they get a big following, and it's usually because of one particular genre or game.
mhm.
There's some really famous cases, like with even Shroud, who's one of the biggest streamers on the platform. He plays shooters. Well, when WoW Classic came out, he wanted to play WoW Classic, so he went to go play that, and his viewership's like 1/4 of what it usually is. Now, 1/4 of 40,000 is still quite a lot, but like,
But it's not 40,000.
but it's not. Yeah, and we talk about this a lot on the show, that like there's different levels of expectation, especially if you're a full-time content creator and you sort of depend on income. That taking a risk like that, it's a problematic, and
Yeah.
So there's a streamer called Das Valdez that does a lot of Kerbal Space Program, and
Mhm.
he does IRL streams. And he at one point talked about how he just kind of got tired of Kerbal. He really liked PUBG, so he wanted to play
Mhm.
PUBG. So he would average like 1,000, 2,000 viewers when he played Kerbal. As soon as he switched to PUBG, it's like 50. He's like, I can't pay my rent on like 50, you know? So
Yeah.
he's like, so you sort of like pigeonhole yourself a little bit into that. Um,
Yeah.
I think there's some streamers that sort of transcend it, right? They can just kind of do whatever they want. But
Yeah, there are definitely streamers who can just play whatever.
yeah, which is
But
great. But
um but I mean like even, it happens to all of us
mhm.
and it definitely sucks. It also sucks when you feel like not even just like it's not even just like the numbers or the income aspect of it, but
Mhm.
when you just feel like you've cultivated a community and then when you play something else, you notice that
Those people aren't
maybe
there
some
or something.
those people aren't there.
Yeah.
And it does hurt and it has nothing to do with monetary value and it has nothing to do with viewership. It literally just has to do with, oh wow, I don't see those people anymore because they only came for one kind of content. And that sucks that they didn't feel like maybe, you would be entertaining doing something else. Like that's definitely, also something that like hit hard, that when you're like, also like I just got partnered in like February.
I remember.
So to be on that high of like, oh my God, I have like a community like behind me enough to the point where um Twitch, noticed and you're kind of riding that high and that like success
Yeah.
of like being like I accomplished something and I did something and I did it with these people behind me, and then you switch up your content and some of those people aren't there anymore and you're like, oh, like, oh no, like
Yeah.
maybe they weren't here for me, or something, or they that's not the content that they wanted, and you kind of, Twitch is partially like people pleasing, like you want to make
Right.
content that people enjoy, and when you're physically incapable of making that content, even though you still want to make it, it's really sad.
Right.
Especially because I just, right before I got injured, I purchased an Oculus Rift
Oh
so
no.
that I could do Beat Saber streams.
Yes, that'd be awesome.
Um,
Yeah.
and I did one Beat Saber stream. Technically, I did it after I injured myself, which was not a good idea. But I was like, I bought this. I need to do it like at least once.
Right.
But I knew that my community liked rhythm games and I wanted to do more rhythm games.
That's smart. Yeah, that's an easy
So
transition.
I got Beat Saber and I'm obsessed with Beat Saber. I love that game so much. And I was very, very hype about being able to play it for my community and bring it into like our like thing as like a regular thing that we're gonna do.
Yeah.
And I am like I got injured that week and I was so upset because like it was a game that everyone really liked and enjoyed and I couldn't do it. And now I'm like, can I go get a kitchen stool and like just sit on it
Right, and
and
just
just
play
like
like that.
play Beat Saber sitting down? Like, can we do that? Because like I just want to play so bad. Um or like should I do all the sit down dances and just dance? Like I just want to like do something, but like
Yeah.
it still wouldn't be the content that I want to, make. It would be kind of like sort of watching sort of doing it, but not really.
That's a good
But it
yeah.
it sucks. It definitely sucks
Yeah, and
for a variety of reasons.
doubly so in your case, as you just mentioned, like there's some people that want to play sort of what they like to play. It changes every day. A new game comes out, I want to play that, and my viewership goes down, and that sucks. But it's even worse when it's like I want to play it, but I physically can't. And it's
Right.
like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
got to be terrible. Although I did see something about a guy like rigged up some kind of system for Goose Game where he like turned into a goose or something and did
Oh
some
my
kind of like,
god.
it's crazy. I saw it on Reddit. He had like a cape on and he could like make a goose sound and it would honk in the game. So maybe you could do that in your chair. That'd be awesome. Um, but
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like though since getting injured, I have had to find other content to make
yeah,
and I've had to kind of, it felt like I went like 20 steps forward but 50 steps back. But now I'm like, I'm still like, I've started to kind of get into still making content that people like.
Yeah.
I've focused on other things. So like I've had to switch my game up and like puns. Um I've had to switch things up and like find games that still bring me the same joy that Just Dance and Beat Saber brought me. And I've had to kind of turn up the funny and try and be more funny and more entertaining and think creatively and kind of, really work on making my channel a place that people want to watch, maybe because of me or because of my community rather than because of the game I'm playing. So who knows, maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Not that
That's
I don't want my knee to be fixed, please
right.
start working again, but like I feel like I'm because of this, I've had to look at my channel in a different way and try and creatively problem solve and find other joy
Sure.
and other kinds of content that I can create that maybe people will like just as much as they liked Just Dance.
That's and you know what? It's a great point, and it's almost like I mean, it's obviously not a good thing that you're injured. No one wishes that. But like,
Please
you know,
fix me.
like diversifying your content, as you said, you're doing TikTok stuff, and they're great, by the way. But like, there's some
Thanks.
success on that platform, there's success on other platforms. Like, you can spread yourself out, so it's not, if you become successful in a few things, it can replace maybe a little bit of what you're missing by being
Yeah.
sort of sidelined on Just Dance, which is super smart. I mean, that's the way to do it. Um, to
Yeah.
to sort of move out of bounds of that, because how many content creators do you see struggle with, like, how do I work Instagram? I don't know how to grow on that, which no one knows how to grow on that. That platform's
I
confusing.
mean, to be completely honest, I don't know what I'm doing, but it seems to be working.
You know something that like 90% of the other people don't know. You're ahead of the game. um but yeah, no, it's a good thing, obviously. Like, that's kind of like a lot of really successful content creators sort of talk about that, about how they got successful not for just like, oh, I only stream, but they have like books, and they have Patreons that do different stuff, and they sort of
Yeah.
they have huge YouTube channels. Like, all these different platforms are working at the same time, so they're earning, not only income from all this stuff, but you're sort of growing your brand in all these different ways that you can then,
Yeah.
as we talked about at the beginning of the show, take that to different sponsorships and things and companies and promote, that way.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I've always wanted. I mean, like, not really focusing on the income part. I mean,
Yeah.
that's great too, but like I've always wanted to have like a brand that's like across multiple platforms, and I am just being me. Like, the
Hmm.
fact that people think I'm funny is like probably like the highest compliment ever,
Look at this
because I
Pikachu. Come on.
look at this Pikachu. Why is it talking?
Oh my God.
What's happening? Um, the fact that people think I'm funny, like I would take people thinking I'm funny over people thinking I'm a good dancer any day, all day and every day.
Sure.
And like,
Yeah.
it's that I love to dance, and I love I'm fine with people thinking I'm a good dancer. Like, that's also a compliment. Like, thank you. But growing up, I used to growing up, I thought I was funny, and it just felt like no one thought I was funny. And I was just like, oh, maybe I just think, and maybe I'm not really funny. And so to have like a community that like likes my jokes or thinks my TikToks are funny or thinks that I'm like entertaining when I'm just being myself, like I feel like I don't have to like try so hard
Yeah.
to be funny or be entertaining. I can just I want to create a place where I can be myself, where other people can be themselves, and I can be myself, and people enjoy watching me for me. And if I can, it, that's kind of like my goal. And if I can accomplish that and get like and create a community that also believes in that goal, then that's success to me.
Yeah. I
And
mean, it's the highest form of compliment, right? Like you were saying earlier.
yeah, yeah. And so like again, like it did suck to like maybe potentially lose people because I wasn't playing the one, but it also kind of had me, really focus on cultivating a community of people that watch me play anything and everything,
Mm-hmm.
because they know that I'm going to make dumb jokes the whole time. I'm going to have fun with it, and we're just going to have a good time playing games. And then, if I can make that, into some sort of income as well, I mean, that's just a bonus to me.
Right. I mean, it's a
But
dream of probably a lot of people on the platform, right? To try and
yeah, I mean, but
support
for
themselves
me,
from
like,
stuff.
yeah, for me, I've always said that I don't want to be a full-time content creator
Hmm.
unless I was making like unless
A
I was
lot of
making like
money.
a lot of money. Just because I'm neurotic and I can't deal with inconsistent, unreliable
Sure. Yeah.
income,
Yeah.
just because like healthcare and just paying bills stresses me out.
Right.
Um, but but I don't really, and I also don't really see streaming as like, this is what I want to do forever, give me money. Like, I don't see it as that. So like, to think about being a full-time content creator that has a lot of like monetary thought process that I just don't want to touch, because I don't want it to like mess up what I'm trying to do. Is it great to kind of make money doing what you love? Absolutely. And I don't think anyone would knock that.
Yeah.
But I'm not sitting here being like, ads, 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 ads.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Do you there was a post not too long ago from I think her name is Layla, and I'm sorry, I always forget. But the overly attached girlfriend, the meme,
Mm-hmm.
that the face behind that is a content creator on YouTube, and I
Yeah.
apologize to her because I can't remember her name. But she actually put out one of my favorite YouTube videos ever, which is actually the end of her YouTube career. I don't know if you had a chance to see that.
I
Lena,
saw
that's who it
that.
is. Thank you.
I
Um,
saw that.
it was like one of the saddest videos I've ever seen, but it also like to me it was kind of inspiring a little bit to see like someone get out of the trap. You know what I mean? Where she sort
Yeah.
of realized in herself she says in the video like it's crazy that I like my job is creating YouTube videos. She's able to maintain a lifestyle and it's fantastic. But she's like, I sit here all week like anxious and freaking out because I need at least 2 videos per week. And she can't like
And they need to be good.
yeah.
They need to be good enough to pay your bills.
Right. So she's like, she was telling a story on it, and she showed like clips of her like, she had a video diary that she was running offline, I think, and she spliced some clips in there, and it was basically her like breaking down. She's like, "It's Thursday. I don't have a video. I don't know what to do." It was
Yeah.
crazy to see that side of things. Um, so yeah, it's like people want to support themselves on the platform, but like you said, there's a lot of inconsistency. Like trends change, people get, canceled, which I hate that crap. But like that's the reality of things. Like you could be popular
Yeah.
today and then nothing tomorrow, and all of a sudden you can't pay bills and you're, all this stuff. Um,
Yeah.
that's actually a topic on this show a lot is the full-time streaming. I created the spreadsheet where you can like input subs and like your budget and figure out what you need to do on Twitch to make it work. And
Mm-hmm.
99% of the time it's not possible. It's just not
Right.
possible.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
then, and I also like, I mean, I also think it's interesting when people like point out, um, like if you can monetize your channel, like people sometimes like try and make you feel bad about monetizing your channel, or
yeah.
feel bad
Yeah.
about having like tip goals or bit goals or even sub goals. Like they're like, oh, well, if you don't care about the money, why do you have those goals on your stream? And it's like, well,
I'm trying to eat.
at the end of the day, I don't care about the money. I'm not trying to extort people. I'm not trying to be like sneaky
Yeah.
and like be like, I'm gonna take all your money and not care about you. Like that's not what it is. But also, this is a job. Like
Yeah.
you're creating entertainment. Essentially, you're creating a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like because that's what streaming's a TV show. It's I mean it could be even a feature length
Sure.
if you play a whole game in one sitting. Like
Right.
you're creating content, and like that takes time and effort and money, and the internet and electricity bill that I get at the end of the month for streaming needs to be paid somehow.
Right.
And so it's like I think there's differing levels of care about money. It
Mhm.
shouldn't be all you care about, and it shouldn't be your driving force, but it is there because everything in life costs money, sadly.
Right.
And if you want to keep doing what you're doing, you need something to allow you to keep doing that. And if you want to do cooler stuff than that, you definitely need something to allow you to do that.
Right.
Um, on my channel, I have a full time job,
Mhm.
so my community knows that I don't fully rely on streaming. However, because we live in the economy we live in and shit's expensive,
Yeah.
um, I don't need streaming to pay like daily bills,
Mhm.
but streaming is also its own expenses. So
You got to
some
cover
sort
that
of
probably.
I need
Yeah.
to cover that,
Yeah.
because otherwise I'm gonna be in a cardboard box, and then no one's gonna watch my streams
No
because
one
the
can
whole
see dancing then. Right.
no
Exactly.
one can see dancing in a cardboard box.
Yeah.
Um, but like so like I don't there's no pressure on my channel for income, but there is I'm still gonna have things that come up, and I'm always fully transparent about what I use any money that I get from stream, what I use it for.
Mhm.
I'm always upfront about it because I'm not gonna be shady about it. I'm gonna tell you if I need to use it to go home for the weekend because my mental health is in the toilet, or if I'm going to use it to buy an Oculus Rift so that we can play Beat Saber. Like, or if I'm going to use it for my cat, which is my recent problem. Um, so I'm always upfront about what I use it for, because then it at least gives that kind of trust, rather than like people thinking that, you know, why do you need money if you have a full time job? Like, why are you, doing that? And it's like, well, because this is my second job. So
Yeah.
I do see it as a job. I see it as a hobby. I see it as a job. I see it as fun. I see
Sure.
it as all of them. And you can see it as all of them. You don't have to pick one.
Yeah.
Um,
And also like 50% of Americans probably like need extra, like have two jobs. Like it's something
yeah,
ridiculous like that. Like, yeah.
there's so many multi-jobbed people out there.
Yeah.
I don't know why streaming is like, if you have a job and you stream, why that's looked at differently.
I think it's like
I
a
think it might
stigma, like, oh, you're just playing
Yeah.
video games, you know, you're just
Yeah.
having fun. Like, there's a lot of work that goes behind this. Okay,
Yeah.
this is
Well,
not free.
also because like I have a coworker who he had to work on a Saturday
Mm-hmm.
because he was behind on some things because he took some time off, so he worked on a Saturday, and he called me at the end of his day on Saturday, and he's like, how do you do it? I'm like, how do I do what? He's like, how do you do this? How do you have only one day off? He's like, tomorrow is my only day off. I have to go back to work on Monday. Like, I'm going to lose my mind. Like, I need a weekend. Like, how
Yeah.
do you do this? And I was like, I don't know. I just do it. He's like, but don't you stream on Saturdays? And I was like, yeah, I stream 4 to 6 hours on Saturdays,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes more. I stream, 3 to 4, I typically only stream 3 hours on Mondays. And then I can, last Friday, I think I streamed like 5 hours or something. And that was after a full day of work.
Yeah.
So, like, it's still, most people want to go home after work and sleep until the next day. And I go
Yeah.
home and stream. So, like, it's fun and I love it. And I love the fact that I get to do it. And I'm so thankful for my community. But it's also a job.
Sure.
Like going to TwitchCon, I took 3 days off of work to go to TwitchCon,
Mm-hmm.
and some people saw that as a vacation. I saw it as a work trip.
It's absolutely a work
I
trip.
I
Yeah.
worked all weekend. That was not like it was a really fun trip,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a lot of work and it was not relaxing. And
Sure.
it was amazing, and I don't take it for granted. And I loved everything that I did at TwitchCon, but it was still a work trip. Like I still had to network. I
Mm-hmm.
still had places to be. I had appointments.
I
I
saw
had
you
to,
on a stream one time, cat
yeah.
related or something. Yeah.
I streamed. Oh my god, my cat is trying to kill things. Cool. That's yep. Can you not do that, please? I am on a thing. I'm doing a thing. Um.
But yeah,
But yeah. So.
I think a lot of people see TwitchCon the way like a lot of okay. So TwitchCon was actually a really big topic on the show too because I went last year and I didn't go this year, and that was
Hmm.
it's not like a financial thing. It's more like what you just said. But like you go for business, and when I go, that's what my goal is. And going last year, I have feelings about TwitchCon. Depending on what status you are, that you get received differently. That's just a thing. But
Hmm.
like, yeah, like a huge majority of people go like on an expensive vacation to see their friends, and I think that's how they look at everyone that goes. And in your case, and I think in a lot of uh, content creators cases, they go and have meetings every single day, and there's a meetup from 2 to then you got to run from thing, you're on a panel, you got to do this. So maybe you have 2 hours to go to a party at the end of the day, but sometimes you're networking at the party as well, so it's like
Yeah.
some of those things can be pretty intense.
Yeah, it's like it's I think people just have like negative connotations with the word work.
Yeah,
Like when I say that, or with the word job, or like when I say that I at like all weekend at TwitchCon, or I went, it's a work trip, like people think that I'm like being like negative about the experience, or you know insinuating that I didn't have fun. I had so much fun, but I still had to wake up early every day.
sure.
I had to make sure that I was at the convention at a certain time. I had to make sure that I was at appointments at certain times. It was stressful at times. It was difficult at times. It was still so much fun, but it was it's still sometimes a job when networking is involved, because
Yeah,
networking is you trying to make relationships so that you could potentially work together in the future, and that takes energy and effort and a mindset that is not vacation brain.
sure. And do you
um
get the feeling of like always needing to be on? A lot of streamers talk about that
yes.
where it's like like I can't just go there in sweats, and be myself and
Oh
just
yeah, I
or
felt like
whatever.
I planned outfits.
Yeah, you
I
got to be
had I
dressed
had to
up
do
and
my
yeah.
hair, my makeup. I had to wear an outfit that I was like, I need to look good. I need to look cute. If I get stopped, I have to be like as bubbly as I would be on stream. And of course, also I was in pain all weekend
That's
trying to
terrible.
walk
Yeah,
around.
it's
So
crazy.
like on Saturday, I just like tweeted out, I'm like, if you meet me and I'm grumpy AF, like just know that it's not has nothing to do with you.
Right. Yeah.
And it's you do have to be on. It takes a lot of energy, and so
Uh-huh.
it's just like um, it's a very lucky job to create content for a living, or even for like a second living.
Yeah.
It's incredibly lucky, and it's a privilege, and it's so much fun and so rewarding, but it's still a lot of work,
Sure.
and that's not work should not be a negative thing. It's just it is what it is, and
Yeah.
we're spending hours upon hours every week making content that people consume. It shouldn't be frowned upon to also try and make maybe a little cash on the side.
No. And what's funny is I completely agree with you, by the way. But it's funny to even hear you say those words because it's like even and it's true and I know it's true and everyone listening knows it's true. But even like when you're saying it, it almost sounds like you feel bad saying it, which is so
I
weird,
do.
right? It's
Oh my
so
god, I
weird.
do.
It's
I
so
feel
weird.
so bad. Are you kidding me? And
Yeah.
people like
Like if you go to
when
work, you expect to get a paycheck, right? If you go to work
oh
tomorrow,
yeah, if
like,
I go to work and they don't pay me, I
yeah. Like where's my paycheck this week? What's happening?
right. And I feel so like I think it's also like maybe because sometimes it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
You feel weird. And also just like you're not being paid by Twitch either. That's
Sure.
the other
Yeah.
thing. I think that's where the guilt really comes from, is that you're not being paid by Twitch. It's not like Twitch is employing you to produce content. Because like it's not like YouTube. Like YouTube gets ads, and then the ads pay the creators.
Yeah.
Um so like it's not like a viewer is not coming in and paying Uber unless they buy their merch.
Sure.
But but they're making it all through ad revenue. Whereas on Twitch, it's very like viewer is giving you money.
Yeah.
And it, for me, I don't like feeling like I've never been a fan of GoFundMe's.
Yeah.
If I need, if I, when I was younger, if I ever needed, I came up with like weird businesses to try
Nice.
and like make money
Yeah.
because I didn't want to ask for it. I hated asking for money, and I still hate it to this day. Like having to call my dad and ask for help for my MRI because I had to pay for my whole MRI. I hate it. It like made me queasy. Like I don't like it because
Yeah.
I don't like asking for things.
Sure.
Um
Yeah, it takes out a
so
sense
like
of like independence when you have to do that, like you're relying on someone else or something. Yeah.
yeah, and it's also it feels like I have to constantly remind myself that I work hard on my stream, and otherwise because a lot of the time I get in a mindset of like, why are people giving me money? I'm not, but I am doing something. I
Yeah.
have to tell myself that I'm doing something. I'm planning things during the day. I'm spending 4 to 5 hours making Halloween emotes. Like
Right.
I'm working, like, and I'm doing things. And if people are kind and generous enough to like give me something for that content,
Mm-hmm.
then that's okay. And that's not me. Like, and I have, and and also I try to, that's also why I try to do a lot of charity streams so that I'm not the only person getting things out of what I'm doing,
Sure.
because that just helps with the guilt. I have a lot of guilt. I don't know if you
Apparently, you shouldn't feel guilty about that. Don't run charity streams because you feel guilty. But
well,
no,
I don't
like,
do charity streams because I feel guilty,
yeah,
but I do them because I have a platform and I don't want to be the only person benefiting off
sure,
of my platform.
absolutely.
Um, and that's just like if I'm able to help somebody else, that's what I want to do, because so many people are willing to like support me. I want to support somebody else.
Yeah. And
So
the
yeah, I don't know.
the monetary aspect of it also, like, and like you're saying, like you feel bad about it, you feel guilty about it, like that leads a ton of time to the burnout feeling that a lot of content creators have, where it's like, I gotta, and like you said, I gotta keep producing content. Now I need something for YouTube today, I gotta cut some clips, I gotta edit videos, I gotta do social media. So it's like, no one that streams any part of time knows that, everyone knows that you're not actually only content creating for 3 hours that you're live. It's like a
Right.
10-hour a day job probably.
It's tweets, it's
Yeah.
creating clips, it's downloading I mean, like I'm
Right.
typically on my computer an hour after each stream.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Sometimes it's only a half an hour if I end too, and I'm like, um, but if I can sit there and download and cut some clips together that I can use for Twitter later, I'll do that immediately so that I don't forget.
that's a good
And
idea. Yeah.
I'm like constantly writing in my notebook different ideas for different events, for
I have the
different
same.
things.
Yeah.
I literally last week like went home after work every day and started working on my like after work.
Hmm.
Like I try to edit videos on Sundays. So like even Sunday is not really my day off.
Right.
Or like was talking to me about as if Sunday was my day off, and I'm like, on Sunday I run errands, I clean my apartment, and I edit videos for YouTube.
Right.
Like
I'm still
it's
working.
not,
Right.
I'm still working. Um but yeah, so it's a lot of like stuff that people don't see.
Yeah.
Um,
And that has caused a lot of streamers, or recently partner streamers. Gothix talks about it a little bit, where she got burnt out. Ashna Christ has talked about it several times, where she's like, I don't know if you know who Ashna Christ is. She's
mhm.
but she has like a book. She has this Patreon service. She has all this stuff, and like still, she's like, I gotta get a job. Like this is not, this is not. I'm not making
Yeah.
enough money to like even live. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of, um, it's not what everyone thinks. Not everyone in Shroud or the doc, and making $50,000 a month or whatever. So it's like,
Right.
um,
Yeah. And it fluctuates so drastically too.
oh my
That
god,
it's
gift
just
subs.
like
Yeah.
gift subs.
Yeah. Oh, I got 300 gift points, or 3,000 gift points next month. I have 300. Like, oh God. It's like
Yeah.
1/10 of my income is gone. So no, it's definitely good though to hear that I'm I have talked a lot and created spreadsheets to caution people away from full-time streaming. And I say full-time streaming in that, like, just to know what you're getting into in terms of what to expect back. And it's very good to hear people have, their eggs in different baskets instead of just
Yeah.
just
I
content
mean, like,
creation.
I've always said, like, if my channel like goes crazy,
Hmm.
and I would still do like a part-time job.
Yeah.
Like, I just would, just because it's how my brain is. And
It,
also, it's just like I want to be involved in the game industry. That's another thing that
yeah.
I realized this at I was having a conversation at TwitchCon, and I didn't really. I was talking to Avery, Mav, and Vandy. I was talking to them about how, like, I was feeling like I was feeling unsure of my channel, and this is also in part due to my injury.
Hmm.
But I was like, I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. I didn't know where I was supposed to be taking it. I, was seeing all of my friends doing all these really cool opportunities and crazy things, and they were the ones who told me, they're like, well, we do this full time. We have all the time in the day to put all of this stuff together.
Yeah.
You have a full-time job. You don't have that extra time to do some of those things, and that's okay, because you're doing one of the things that so many content creators want to be doing, which is working for a game studio.
Sure.
They're
Yeah,
like, a
absolutely.
lot of content creators hope that their content will eventually get them a job at a game studio.
Hmm.
They're like, so you already skipped that, like, you already did that, so you're already doing what most people kind of want to be doing.
Hmm.
So just take a step back, like, enjoy what you're doing, like, be proud of the things you can accomplish, and also realize that, like, your day job is cool, and, like, you shouldn't
Right.
feel bad that you have a day job, because that day job is technically what a lot of people want.
Yeah, everyone's dream job. Yeah, and but at the same time, like, and from your perspective, you like it, but it there's some rose-colored glasses or whatever that could be involved.
Yeah. Well,
Because
I mean, it's not that I hate my job. I
yeah,
that I could do more development stuff. But I still love the games industry, and I still want to be at a game studio. So I still love my job, and I definitely don't look down on that. But I think also it's just one of those things where you're like, I want to do everything.
yeah,
Why can't I do everything? Like,
yeah,
and I'm very much that person where, like, Avery was saying, Avery was telling me, like, some really good advice, where she was like, can do anything, but you can't do everything.
yeah,
And she was saying that that's something that she learned this year, and that she's trying to incorporate into her life, and that the more she listens to that advice, the better she feels. But the problem is that she said that to me, and my brain instantly went Barney Stinson challenge accepted. Because I'm a cracked out person who, like, even if I know I can't do everything, I'm still gonna try my damnedest,
right.
because I just want to do everything.
Yeah, and and that statement really hits home for me too, because I feel that's the person I am too. Like, I have this full-time job, I have a couple of side businesses, I want to stream as much as I can. I have children, there's like all
Yeah.
this. There's 24 hours is not enough in a day. Like, if I
No.
get 4 hours of sleep, it's crazy.
Yeah.
um, so just sort of, I this is the guests on the show, like, unbelievable. I feel like I could talk to you for like the next 7 hours about shit. But let me ask you real quick. You just got back from TwitchCon.
Mhm.
Um, you got the flu from it, I think, or whatever from it. Or did you get sick recently or something like that?
I got kind of sick.
Okay.
I completely lost my voice when I
Can't
was
dance,
back.
can't sing. What's? I'm just kidding.
I had to cancel stream that first Monday back,
Yeah.
because I literally couldn't talk. Like,
Right.
I had no voice. Like, I couldn't talk, and I'm like, well, that's like 90% of my channel. So,
There you go. You were out late singing at Duty Beard's emo night or something.
oh yeah.
um, no, but what's the next thing you're looking at? PAX, or what are you going to some more conventions this coming year? Are you waiting for TwitchCon, or what do you think?
Um, well, like, next for like events, I want to go to Twitch Chicago, like the Chicago meetup.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
Brandon runs
cuz
that one, doesn't he?
Yeah, and like they're like it's getting like to be its
It's
own
it's
TwitchCon.
pretty big, yeah.
So many people fly in for it.
Yeah, I
But I
think
know that
Jambo goes to that
Asian,
one. Yeah.
yep, Jambo goes to that
Mhm.
one. Asian really wants me to go. It's in like December, I think.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna try and go to that.
Oh, December
Um,
in Chicago. That's
yeah,
a
it's a great
nightmare.
idea.
Hope you like negative 20-degree weather.
Can't wait to get snowed in and miss days of work.
Hooray.
But I'm gonna try to go to that, and
Yeah.
then PAX East is probably a definite.
Mhm.
Um, if not even for myself, for my job.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
probably definitely be there just for work
Do you work
because
the
that's
booths and stuff when you go to that?
yeah.
Okay.
So this past year, I worked both PAX and GDC
Oh,
for work. So
GDC. Holy crap, I forgot about that one since I graduated. I forgot
yeah,
about that.
I'm not going to
Yeah.
GDC in 2020 though. I
Okay.
already told my boss. I was like, yeah, if we're doing that, count me out. Like, I don't want to go.
Do game
Um,
companies promote there, or do you go there just looking for like new techniques and maybe employees? Like how,
it depends. It
yeah.
depends. We promoted there
Yeah.
because our game wasn't out yet, so we were
Oh,
able
okay.
to have like a it's not like it's not like for fans. It's definitely for like students
Sure.
and already like accomplished game devs. But it's it's definitely it's like learning and networking. It's networking interior like game industry,
Sure. Yeah.
so it's still beneficial, and studios still go to like kind of like display stuff or talk to people about stuff.
Hmm.
It's also great for like press. So I did like I was at the demo booth for GDC, but I basically was like, "Hi, my 25th birthday is during GDC, so
Oh no.
I'm gonna go on vacation and not go to GDC.
Yeah.
Please don't hate me. Goodbye." Like, I was, and I even said I was like, "I will work the crap out of PAX. Please don't make me go to GDC."
Right. Um. So actually, oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Anything other than PAX East you're looking at, or is that too far in the future? You're not thinking about it right
I mean, I still plan on going to TwitchCon in
now?
San Diego. I'm not going to the Europe TwitchCon because
Yeah. Amsterdam. They apparently want everyone to die and get lost having it in
yeah,
Amsterdam.
yeah,
Like what?
yeah.
But it is super nice that they announced that it's like going to be in the same place next year, so people can plan and more than
Hmm.
1 month ahead of time or whatever.
Oh yeah.
But so when you're at like PAX, um, and you're doing the booth stuff, y- do you bring up streaming, or you just sort of on the job and there's no time to do that? Like I don't.
I try not to, for lack of a better term, cross streams.
It's a perfect term. Yeah.
I try not to do too much of that because like I don't want my brand to be I don't want the company to be reflective on my brand.
Sure.
I don't want people to come into my stream and ask me about Justin Roiland, or ask me about my job, or like I don't want that
Mm-hmm.
like to be all day every day,
Sure.
or and a lot of the game industry is secrets. Like it's a lot of NDA.
Right.
Can't
Yeah.
talk about it till it's out. It's not going to be out for 2 years, kind of stuff. So I don't want to get myself into any situations where I'm in a uncomfortable situation where someone's trying to get like extort deep dark secrets out of me. Um, I'm honest about where I work, and if I have something cool to share that I can share, I'll. But I try not to really talk about my job on my stream, and when I'm at work, I try to not talk about my stream at work.
Yeah. That's the best way to do
Um,
it.
so when I'm at PAX, though, it's really funny though because a lot of people will come up to the booth
To see
for
you.
me to
Yeah.
see me because they're like my friends,
Sure.
like, and they're just coming to say hi to me. They don't care about the booth. And so a lot of my coworkers were making fun of me at PAX this year because they were like, "Oh wow, like wow, so famous."
I mean, it's got a little bit good for the company that puts on the booth, right? It brings more foot traffic in, and like you,
Yeah.
sometimes they're
Except
not
the foot
interested,
traffic's not playing the game. They're
right?
just talking.
They're not buying the game, so that's a problem. Yeah, that's a good point.
They're just saying hi to me and taking dumb Snapchats with me. Like we're not.
That's awesome. You are famous. That's a problem with famous people.
Oh no, not the meme.
It'd be the most famous goose player in the world.
Yes,
Um,
I'm a competitive goose player.
I'm telling you, I'm gonna send you that clip of that guy with that Reddit costume. You're gonna die. He had like
Oh
a
god.
duck bill on. It's hilarious. um, okay, I. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for being on the show,
No, thank you for having me.
and thank Pikachu
Yeah, it was
for
actually
coming as well. Um, I hope that tomorrow goes really well. I look forward to seeing some positive news on the Twitter tomorrow after you find out some stuff.
it might just be me posting this Pikachu picture again.
Oh, no, yeah.
Just all sad and on the ground and defeated.
Just like a head down emo with a Pikachu. Um,
Yeah.
okay, thank you so much. Let me, guys, if you don't know Little Red, you have just listened to her for like 2 hours speaking, so there is no reason not to go follow her immediately. Let me make sure I got it right. Yes, I got it.
Yay.
Go follow all of her things. Thank you so much for being on the show again. I will be back in just a moment. I'll take a break, get some water. That's it. And we'll do a little post game show. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day. Good luck tomorrow. Let us know how it goes. I'm going to find that clip of that guy being a goose and send it to you. All right.
Yay.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
I will be right back.